Hey, welcome back to Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we got a new deck dive for you. This is a criminal deck in the standard format. It's called Smooth Dupes, and it is a Steve Cambridge Tag Me economic denial deck. And I've been just having the most fun with this on JNet in the last week. Now, as you might know, this is a really exciting time for Netrunner. In the next 60 days, all of the Fantasy Flight Games cards are going to be leaving the standard and the startup format when the new set Elevation releases at the end of April. That's an incredibly exciting time. Obviously, the card pool is going to be changing a lot. Accessibility to the game gets even higher, but we're going to be losing a lot of old Fantasy Flight Games cards, all the old Fantasy Flight Games cards that are still in the format. Now, this deck specifically is actually a bit of a celebration of some of the old criminal cards and some of the old FFG cards, some of my favorite cards that will be leaving the format. Generally, when you look at a standard deck in Netrunner, it's like 90%, 80% SG cards. And this one actually, I think, is about more than half old FFG cards. So if you're a newer player, we're going to have to explain a whole bunch of these cards. You may never seen them before, but I promise you, you have at least 60 more days to enjoy some of the cool cards. And this might be a nice way to do that. Now, we're going to explain this deck. If you want to jump forward just to the gameplay, there are timestamps in the description below, but otherwise we're going to dive in, explain how we got here, what all these cards do, and our game plan in general. If you want to take a second to leave a like on the video, if you appreciate content like this, that really does help the channel grow. So today we are playing a criminal identity, Steve Cambridge, originally coming out in Terminal Directive. His ability text is pretty interesting. It says the first time a turn that you run HQ, you can pick 2 cards that are in your heap, you show them to the corporation, and the corporation makes a decision. One of those cards you're going to get back to your hand, and the other card is just removed from the game. The idea here is we have built-in recursion to criminal. That's a very uncommon thing. Criminal and recursion generally don't go into the same sentence. And it's a pretty nuanced ability, as much as, unfortunately, the majority of time when this event fires, you're just going to look at your heap and you're going to pick 2 copies of the same card. The idea, this is not a choice you have to worry about. If you present Sure Gamble and Sure Gamble, the corporation will give you 1 Sure Gamble, and of course the other one's removed from the game. Now that's still good. The idea that you run HQ, you functionally draw a card, and not only a card, one of the best cards you have in your heap, your choice largely, that you've already played. It's in your deck. It's good, and you know consistently what it's going to be, so you can basically decide what you want to draw from running HQ. Now, what's really interesting about this deck is that you can choose 2 different cards. And that doesn't sound great because, of course, it's up to your opponent to pick the worst card for you on any board state. That sometimes can be hard to determine what the worst card is for you, but it's an interesting decision. I think Steve would be a lot more fun if it always was 2 different cards. What you'll notice in the upcoming gameplay is that we actually do craft a lot of situations in which there's a card we want, something maybe simple like Diesel to draw cards. And so we offer a busted run event and then Diesel, and Diesel doesn't look so bad. So a lot of times your opponent just gives you a Diesel, and we're pretty happy about that. I believe in one of the upcoming matches, we play the same Diesel 6 times, which is honestly not that bad for an identity ability that's still running HQ all the time, touching cards and being disruptive. In short, you want to be running HQ mostly every turn, because if you can just get a good card draw, you can touch cards in HQ. That is the sort of thing you want to be doing anyways in a criminal deck, and it all lines up really quite well. Now, we're going to be recurring events mostly with Steve. We do have 25 events. It's over half the deck. You sometimes will pick resources. You sometimes will pick programs, I guess, but events are kind of the name of the game. Events are really good in this game. They're on tempo. They generally do a lot, but once you play them, they're gone. So having the ability to play the same event over and over and over again, you kind of get pushed into that value game instead of the tempo game, which is quite cool. Notably too, most of our events are either 3 ofs or 2 ofs, and that's actually a very important decision when it comes to playing Steve, on the basis that the more copies you have of an event, the easier and the more reliably you're setting up situations where you run HQ and show 2 of the same event, and then the corporation has to give you one of those events. The idea is if we're playing 3 Bravado, which of course we are, we can technically play 5 Bravados in the same game. Because of the Steve recursion, as long as there's 2 in the heap, you can always just keep playing them over and over again until they're all played or removed from the game. So every 3 of is technically a 5 of, as long as you get to that situation. So we're playing a lot of really strong events that we don't mind spamming on most any board state. That's usually how we got to this deck. So of course, that means we're playing some staples. We're playing 3 copies of Bravado. It's just a very good criminal run event. 3 copies of Sure Gamble. We only have 2 copies of Dirty Laundry because slots are difficult, but these are the sort of generic cards that we'll be grabbing with our ability whenever it makes sense. We also have 3 copies of Diesel, and this is not something that was originally in some of the early iterations of this deck, but criminal, we struggle a bit with card draw, and having Diesel, this like very on-tempo event to draw 3 cards, is kind of what we need when we always want a nice full grip of nice powerful events, and we are able to recur the Diesels so they go farther and farther. Notably, we are a tag me deck, and you'll see in a second, we have a lot of events, a lot of resources that give us tags, and we're going to be floating those tags. That might sound like a scary proposition, and there are some downsides. Certain metas, that's a harder thing to do than others. Tag punishment is alive and well, and we'll have to just deal with some of the tag punishment. But because of that, we have some natural downsides baked into some of our card choices. The idea is that if we want card draw, generally in Criminal, you'll play something like an Earthrise Hotel, which is a resource that draws 6 cards. But we can't play this if we're floating a tag, because the corporation can just reach over and trash it for a click and 2 credits. And while that is a real cost, that's not going to be a great spot for us. So we actually have to offshore a lot of our card draw to things like events, and Diesel's just one of the better options that we have. Now, of course, we want to be running HQ every turn to fire Steve's ability, so we have a lot of really good HQ run events. The first one, to show off some of this Tag Me package, is Hot Pursuit. This is a card from Reign and Reverie. It costs 2 credits, you run HQ, and if successful, you make 9 credits. That is a 7 credit run event, which is just pretty dang wild. That is a huge number. Notably too, you get those credits when the run is successful. So you actually have those credits when you're accessing and when you're touching cards in HQ. And that helps if you want to trash cards. That's kind of nice. That's not like Dirty Laundry or Bravado, which you get after the run. But of course, after you do this run, or right when the run is successful, you take a tag. And that's technically a downside. It makes this card worse on tempo if you have to go clear the tag for a click and 2 credits. But we're just not going to care. We're just going to float all the tags and just take as many tags as we can, because we have some upsides to taking a lot of tags. We'll get to that in a second, but you just have to be comfortable taking tags and saying, this doesn't matter. We're not playing a lot of resources. We might die to some end of the line combos, but we actually have ways to deal with those. But that is the basic idea with this deck, is we don't think tags are a downside. We're just going to take them. And cards like this just become fantastic when you can play 5 copies of them in the game. Of course, Criminal Staple 2, we're playing Diversion of Funds, Run HQ. That's a 10 credit swing and fires the Steve Cambridge ability. And the idea that we can play 5 Diversion of Funds in a single game has a lot of strong economic denial baked into this deck. Another card, speaking of economic denial baked into HQ, is we're playing 3 copies of Emergency Shutdown. This is not a super popular card, but I really wanted to play 3 copies of this, because one of the worst things that can happen to us is that the corporation can put a big ice in front of HQ. As soon as it costs us 7 credits to run HQ, our ability doesn't make a lot of sense. And so Emergency Shutdown is the great equalizer, where if they ice up HQ really heavily, as long as we can get into HQ once with maybe a little trick like a boomerang or a sneak door beta, we just shut that ice down. And now with 2 Emergency Shutdowns in the bin, anytime we run HQ, the corporation understands if I res something expensive to try and keep you out of HQ, if you make it in, you're just going to say, here's 2 shutdowns. I'm going to shut down whatever you've invested in. And this is the sort of thing that can snowball us, so we can always easily and cheaply run HQ to get off those diversions, those hot pursuits. It's just a really nice card. Notably too, in the modern meta, rushing into a remote server, generally one of the opens against criminals is you'll put something important in a remote server, a corporation will, like a Rashida Yahim, they'll ice up HQ so they don't get diversioned. And having access to Emergency Shutdown gives you a really nice fork, where if you run the remote server and they res the ice, now you can run HQ, and they probably can't res that ice. They're not worried about being diversioned of funds when they have their ice on the remote server res with the Rashida sitting in there. But if you run HQ, they can't res that ice, and now you can shut down the remote server, run the Rashida, and you're leaving the corporation with nothing. These plays are so incredibly aggressive, and Emergency Shutdown as a 3 of just allows you to bring back the board state. Once the corporation thinks they've stabilized, you just take it away from them, and it's really quite mean. Now, our last Tag Me event, if I'm not mistaken, is Credit Kiting. This is an older FFG card. It is super uncommon. You can only play this after you've made a successful run on a central server, and then you can install a card from your grip, lowering its install cost by 8, but then you take a tag. Again, the take a tag is actually not a downside. It's kind of a benefit. We actually want to take a bunch of tags, but you basically get to install something for free. Now, 8 is a massive number, and it's really easy to play Credit Kiting and only include very, very expensive cards because you're going to install them for free. But while we have no 8 cost or higher cards, we're just going to use this on just about anything, and it's still going to be a really good click. While we do have a couple expensive cards, I just want to be very clear. Running HQ, having your ability fire, grabbing a Credit Kiting with Steve, and just installing something like a Class Act, saving 4 credits, that's still a really good event. It gives you 4 credits and it installs the card for a single click. That's a lot of click compression. And so while I will Credit Kiting out something expensive like a Maw, we generally don't want to pay 6 credits for this. It just gives you flexibility to play this card over and over again. Install your Amakua for 3 credits. It doesn't matter. This is just a lot of gas, and it gives you that tempo to keep the pressure up. I like this card a heck of a lot. Now, our last event here is a criminal staple. It is Mutual Favor. We're just going to get down a breaker in the early game. Once we find out what breaker we need, we will be aggressive. We will face check. We'll use boomerangs to get off our first couple runs. But then once things slow down and we actually need our breakers, we will Mutual Favor for whatever breaker is necessary. We'll show the icebreaker options. We have a couple options. We have generally Amaku as an AI breaker, but we can also grab some of the bespoke options like our decoder, our fractor, or our killer. Just a very good and useful card. Now jumping to hardware, again, we have so many run events, and a lot of the run events have incredibly powerful triggers, let alone Steve does, if you can successfully run HQ. And for that reason, we're running 3 copies of Boomerang. This is the easiest way that you can get into HQ guaranteed on turn 1, turn 2. Just put a Boomerang down, Hot Pursuit HQ, and you're going to get in and you're going to get Steve cards back. This card shovels back into your deck, so you end up playing the Boomerangs over and over again. A really common play pattern against Modern Criminal is if you Boomerang an unresed ice, the corporation won't res it, and they'll just destroy that ice, stranding your Boomerang. And luckily with Steve, if we get a couple Boomerangs stranded, we overinstall them to trash them into our bin, we can start recurring those Boomerangs, which again, Criminal and recursion don't often go in the same sentence, and so we can go pretty far getting these Boomerangs to get our successful runs really, really cheaply. Now our console. This is one of my favorite FFG cards that is unfortunately rotating out in 60 days. This massive Anar console costs 6. Ideally, we played it for 0 with credit kiting. It gives you 2 MU, which is actually really quite nice for Criminal. Criminal likes to use MU, but doesn't have a lot of ways to get MU. And its ability says, the first time each turn, we access a card that is not in archives and we don't steal or trash it, the corporation has to randomly trash a card from hand. This gives us so much built-in disruption for a deck that wants to be running constantly once or twice a turn at a minimum. One of those runs, a Maw will likely fire, and that means the corporation is just losing cards from hand, and the HQ runs become more and more valuable. This is technically a soft multi-access card because it allows us to see more cards. If we run the remote server and bounce off of an asset, the corporation has to trash a card from hand, and now we can run it and see it on archives, and we just end up seeing more cards overall. It means that when we run HQ, we're likely to see a different card because we're taking cards out of hand consistently. It is just a heck of a lot of fun. Notably, this clause that it wants you to touch cards and not steal or trash lines up really well with the Criminal card pool, or specifically Amakua. This is our AI icebreaker that gets a virus counter whenever a breach ends and we don't steal or trash a card. So it actually is very beneficial for us to run a remote server, see a card, don't steal, don't trash it, get an Amakua counter so the strength of the Amakua goes up, and we also get a Maw fire, which is just a lot of value for touching the cards and being disruptive. Now, the way Maw works, honestly, is kind of weird. This is one of the very few cards that requires you, if you're playing it in person, to actually have a dice, because you need a way to randomize the card that you're trashing from the corporation's hand. Very notably, too, if you're accessing HQ and you see a card from HQ, and while you're accessing that card, Maw resolves, you have to roll a die and you have to have a mapping, because there's a chance that you're going to trash the card that you're accessing. And if that happens, it'll be trashed face up into archives. It's a really weird interaction, and you'll notice that we check archives because we will know if we ran HQ and Maw fires, if we Maw the card we're currently touching, or if we Maw some of the other cards that we don't know what they are. So a lot of information there to keep track of, but just a very good disruptive card that getting this down for free gives you so much gas in the early game. Now, our last piece of hardware here is Awaken Plant. Pretty standard. We want to be running HQ just about every turn, and so this will get power counters, and then we can use the power counters to multi-access R&D and close the game off. Notably, when we play this, we take a meat damage, and that's never feels great, but with an ID that has recursion built in, sometimes getting your extra bravado into the bin means now you can run HQ and show 2 bravados really easily, so we don't mind the meat damage as much as some criminals do. Now, unfortunately, the version of this deck that I was playing, that the games are recorded, I was also playing 2 copies of prepaid voice pad, and this is a hardware that gives you a credit a turn to play an event. And that makes a fair bit of sense. Our deck plays a lot of events and then replays the same events over and over and over again. So it's easy for these prepaid voice pads to give us a credit a turn, which is not bad at all. That is one of the downsides of playing a tag me deck, is that you struggle to play these sort of like long value cards. The idea of things like daily casts, things like Mystic Miami, they're not uncommon in criminal decks, but because these are resources that give you money over time, we can't play them because the corporation can, of course, because we're tagged, reach over the table and trash them. So I was looking at a card like Prepaid Voice Pad to kind of fill that hole. Now, from my experience so far, I don't think we've actually needed the prepaid voice pad. So this version of the deck cuts the prepaid voice pads, and instead we play a Steak Door Beta in that slot. I'll show you what that card does, but I did play 46 with 2 prepaid voice pads. This is a better version of the deck with 45 and a Sneak Door. So the games you're going to see have a slightly different deck list than this one here. I think this one is definitely a lot better. Now, our resources. We have 3 copies of the Class Act. Of course, we are a tag me deck, so resources can be trashed. But when the Class Act comes down either for free with a credit kiting or you just pay 4 credits, not only is this a good tech card if you think you're going to flatline on a given turn, but it gives us some nice scry ability. We can draw cards, see extra cards, bottom cards, and that allows us to find our favorite events when and if we need them, set up the 2 ofs in our heap to make sure that we're drawing the second bravado. So now we have them both in our heap after we play them, and it's just very quite good. If the corporation trashes this, it never feels fantastic because you get a lot of the value when you install it and you draw 4 cards. Obviously, getting that scry once a turn is still great, but the corporation doesn't often trash this card. It is unique, but you can install the second copy on top of this, trashing the first copy, and it will fire its end of turn clause, which is quite great. Again, we need a lot of card draw. We want to keep our hand full because we play events, and events are one-time shots. So we just need to get the card draw coming in. Now, lastly, our two other resources are Tag Me stuff, and this is Rogue Trading. It's such a unique card. It costs nothing to install, and it comes with 18 credits on it, which is, I think, the biggest difference between install cost and how much money it can give you. Now, you have to spend 2 clicks to liberate money from this. It gives you 6 credits for 2 clicks, which is not bad at all, but it gives you a tag. And the tension with this card, of course, is if you're tagged, the corporation can just trash this card. So Rogue Trading is still quite useful. Now, in a pretty common case, if you draw this in the mid game, you're already tagged. So if you install the Rogue Trading and spend 2 clicks to take 6 credits off of it, you've spent 3 clicks to gain 6 credits, which means 2 clicks per credit, which isn't terrible. The awkward thing, though, is that's generally 3 clicks in a row, which gives you not a lot of maneuverability on tricky or important turns, but that's still not awful. And then if the corporation trashes this, which takes them a click and 2 credits, which they usually will, they don't want to leave a card on the table with 12 credits on it. That means that you spend 3 clicks to get 6, and they spend a click to lose 2, which makes the trade feel a bit better, as much as it doesn't feel great when it does happen. Often, if I have one of these in our opening hand, and that does happen commonly, we do have 3 of them in the deck, I'll install the Rogue Trading, and then before we go Tag Me, we'll just take a turn off and take 12, take 2 tags. And then at that point, the corporation has a harder time trying to feel good about trashing a Rogue Trading with only 6 credits on it. Of course, we play 3 copies, so you can run HQ and get one of these copies back and then install it, take 6 off, and then it's up to the corporation to continue trashing our resources over and over again. Notably, this deck actually wants to get tags, and we'll see the last resource in a second, but actually using Rogue Trading just to generate a lot of tags, we have a payoff card. And our final resource is a very strong, this is one of the strongest Tag Me payoff cards we've seen in the history of the game. It is an old FFG card called Counter Surveillance. It's a resource, so we have to install it, but generally the turn we install it, we will use it the same turn. So think of it as like a double event. You install it, and then you trash this and spend a click to make a run. You generally run R&D or HQ, and if successful, we play X credits, where X is equal to the exact amount of tags we have. And then when we access or when we breach R&D or HQ, we access X cards. So the idea is we spend the first part of the game being very aggressive, and then by the mid to late game, we have 7 to 8 tags. We drop the counter surveillance, we run R&D, we pay 8 credits, we see 8 cards, we win the game. This is just such a great payoff, and you'll find yourself trying to actually hunt down tags, gain extra tags, because we understand we will eventually draw into our counter surveillance and win the game. Notably, a lot of people will just fire this on R&D and see 8 cards, which that feels good. It's a deep dive, except you can access every single card. But you also do keep in mind you can run HQ and see all of HQ with this if you want to. That's not always the best use case of this because you'll be running HQ all the time with Steve and getting cards out with Moss, so it's not super necessary. Oftentimes you'll end up running R&D, Boomerang, get through a piece of ice, Amaku a piece of ice, and just go C7. That usually will close the game off if you're up 3 or 4 points. Now we're only on 1 of these. We can't find the influence for 2 of them, which means we could play 3 copies, but generally 1 seems to be enough for my testing. This is one of your most powerful cards. You don't want it in your opening hand, you want to draw in the mid game. So if I see it with the class act, I'll put it on the bottom and hopefully shuffle it back up with Boomerang in the near future. Finally, we just have programs. We have an Icebreaker suite. Nothing too surprising here. We have Amakua, which if you want to play Aggressive Criminal is one of the best programs you have access to. It's an AI, so it breaks all types of ice, but it comes in at 0 strength. But every time you make a breach and you don't steal or trash, it gets a virus counter, and then its strength is equal to its virus counters. Of course, the corporation can purge this out. They can resim a virus. There's a lot of ways they can play around Amakua, but they're expensive. They're slow sometimes if they want to spend a whole turn purging, and we're going to be running all the time. So this Amakua eventually will just become 6 or 7 strength, and we're running and breaking every ice in the game for just the subroutines. So just for credits, very good. In a lot of games, this is the first breaker I will get down with my mutual favor, but otherwise it is just a good option to have as a backup, and eventually it'll be 5 or 6 strength. Sometimes you have to use your other breakers or your Boomerang, but Amaku is just the most fun. It really incentivizes you to just touch every card you can see. Then, of course, we just have some more standard breakers. We have Cat's Cradle. It's not a great decoder. The numbers on it are not fantastic, but it makes the res cost of all code gates go up by 1, which the corporation has to deal with that. With a deck that can run up to 5 emergency shutdowns, you can force them to re-res those 4 cost magnets, those 6 cost mess in the chest foes, and that sort of stuff does add up. It sometimes is just a game of inches where you just have to force a small amount of credits, but you are an economic denial deck, so you like this economic denial ability, and it's a pretty cheap program to get down. We're also playing Kurapira. It's just the best Fractor Criminal really has. Nothing much to say about it, but sometimes you just need a Fractor, and this thing is not that bad at all. Our killer is Revolver. We have a bit of recursion built into our identity, so we can use something that has a bit of a shelf life. We're playing 2 copies of the revolver just so that we can, in the mid to late game, get the 3rd revolver back by putting 2 in the bin by using the trash itself ability, running HQ, and just having a 3rd revolver. So far, I haven't installed a lot of revolvers, but if you're playing against things like Jinteki, where face checking into net damage sentries is scary, revolvers should go pretty far, and then you're going to want to de-res the emergency shutdown, the Anansi, before you have to run it too many more times. Finally, our last program slots, we have a Chesva. Not something you want very early, but once you have your breakers down, you're going to be running HQ every turn. And if you're spending 2 to 3 credits to get into HQ, this is 2 credits every single turn to get your recursion engine going. Very, very quite good. And then lastly, this wasn't in the deck that I was playing in the upcoming games, unfortunately. We talked about the prepaid voice pads. We should have been playing Sneak Door Beta. Now, this is a bit expensive at 4, but we can install it for free with credit kiting. It spends a click to run archives, and if the archives run is successful, we breach HQ. Now that counts as a successful HQ run, so Steve fires, Wake Implant fires, all that good stuff fires. So the idea is if they overcompensate and the corporation ices up HQ with 2 or 3 ice, we say, okay, we'll put down the Sneak Door Beta, we'll run archives, successful run on HQ, we'll get back an emergency shutdown, and we'll just put them in a really awkward situation. Notably, the Sneak Door Beta costs a click to use the ability, so you can't compound it. You can't do a Sneak Door Beta run with a Hot Pursuit, so you can't play any of your cool run events, but it's just another avenue to get into HQ to make all your snowball effects happen, and we definitely should be playing this. We might not keep it on the table for the whole game. At some point, you'll install it, get enough ice on archives. Admittedly, corporations will ice archives because you are playing Amakua and you are playing Maw, so on some board states, it's still a bit tricky, but it's definitely worth the slot as a nice way to circumvent some of the defenses in the early to mid game. And that's the list. And you can watch some of the upcoming games. I play this incredibly aggressively. We are truly the beatdown in some games where you just send it all the time, face check all the ice. Even in the games where I think you feel a bit unfavored against things like Glacier, you have some good lines because you have a lot of money coming in from the rogue tradings. You can just set up breakers and you can throw some counter surveillances. Maw might not fire that often because you can't make those cheap free runs, but you have some really strong run events. It's hard to make HQ expensive to run when you get 7 credits back and your best card back from your heap. So even if HQ is really iced up, you do have some good lines into some of the slower, more methodical decks. You do have to slow the game down though, rely on your boomerangs, but it's not totally lost. Now, I've been having a ton of fun with this. I haven't been running into terrible matchups. I haven't been running to a lot of tag-based stuff. It's up to you to figure out if your meta allows you to play something like this. If you're running into constantly things like self-growth program, where you find your Amakua and your Maw uninstalled all the time, things like market forces, yeah, that's probably not great for you. But even in some of the matchups that are playing things like end of the line and like meat damage tag-based kill packages, if you are this aggressive, you can deny that much economy and you can get Maw to fire consistently. You're actually not in a bad spot at all, as long as you can be aggressive and you can force the corporation to respond to you. Of course, we have a whole bunch of games recorded on JNet coming up. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to hit me up, and hopefully you enjoy the games. Thanks so much for watching. Ciao. All right, we're playing against the Asa Group, where Tag Me Steve, we have that good old Maw in our hand. Thanks, you too. We don't actually have that much like asset tech. Like we have no missed bones or anything to deal with hard assets. Maw could be pretty good. This hand, I don't love the early counter surveillance. I don't think the Maw on its own we're never going to install it unless we have a credit kiting. Otherwise, Bravado for the remote server is really strong. Boomerang is fine. Sure Gamble is good. So in theory, we could do like Sure Gamble, Bravado, the remote server, then run HQ, get one of these best cards back. I think we can mulligan this. I feel like Asa can be really explosive, so you need a great hand. Experimental also kept, so that's kind of frightening. So I think we need to go from a pretty good hand to a best hand. And this is like very similar. I think there's a better chance in this now with the Diesel that we can find a credit kiting and just get the Maw down as soon as possible and just start being disruptive. A shout out to Jai, who recently played Punitive Counter-Strike Asa, so now everyone in JNet Casual has to worry about just like flatlining out of nowhere for no reason. Best of luck, have fun. I was at the AMT like last weekend. All right, so we'll see if there's HQ respect here. Diversion can be pretty bad, but sometimes you can just res something to duck it if we go for the HQ. And so that's the play here. I think we just do Sure Gamble, run server 1. If something bad is rezzed, like if it's a gatekeeper, I don't think we care that much. We can always boomerang run it. We're trying to deal with Rashidas here. We're not expecting this to be an agenda. We want to deal with a Rashida. So I'll generally face check. There's not that much better we can get from the Diesel here. I just want him the clicks to respond if this is like a drafter or something like that. Okay, so Boomerang would have got through. I think I'm okay letting this fire. We're an Amakua deck. So this is really bad if it's exactly a Rashida. If we put the Boomerang on it, they wouldn't have rezzed, and that's actually kind of worse for us. We'll see if they shuffle things back. They don't, so now running HQ is super likely to hit something good. I don't want to put the Maw down. We can Diesel first and then run HQ and then either get the Sure Gamble or Diesel back. I think that's kind of nice. Oh, let alone now on 2 credits. It's very likely we get in with a Hot Pursuit. The only thing that we don't get in on HQ is if it's exactly an ablative barrier, so I'm going to send it. We can't steal Iquas here, but it's very likely that this goes through and we get one of our 2 great cards in our bin back. This is good pressure. This is why you force the res. Oh, no further, no Ablada. We're in. We get one of our Steve cards here. I'll take either of these. We might have to discard one of them. We'll probably discard the early Chesva. And we have credit cutting for Ma on the following turn. So if this is Rashid, it's pretty good. There's definitely agendas in here. It's a Holloman, okay? So I don't think we want that to exist. And we're going to end our turn throwing out a Chesva. So this hand's really quite good. We definitely want to get an Amakua. It isn't just a Nico, so not too bad for our opponent. Denying economy is really important, and we know the ice on HQ costs more than 2 credits. All right, let's see if there's a fully op here. Still haven't seen an agenda. We've gone through 10 cards, so there's definitely an agenda in hand. So here we can just Bravado Server 2. Don't care about what happens. I don't think I'm going to boomerang it. I'm just going to Bravado and force the res. Hopefully this gets res and then we can run HQ. The awkward thing about credit kiting is that if you're credit kiting out of Maw, you've usually already made a successful run and touched a card, and so Maw can't fire. I guess if you steal a card, that's different. So if this gets rezzed, HQ is open. This is why I love this sort of Steve deck, where it's all about like these forks. Be like, yeah, you have the remote server, but then HQ is open. And what is a thing that you have to more protect here? Sure, if this is a drafter, it could be bad, but if you spend 3 credits rezzing ice, no further. Okay, so we want to res on HQ. That's a better place to put the boomerang. It's a powers that be. I think we're going to trash this while we're here. It also makes the fully operationals worst. So now we can do boomerang, run HQ, and get back either Hot Pursuit or Bravado, which is good. And then we can credit kiting last click. On 5, there's not much that will keep us out here. Magnet, okay. That's rezzed, which is really nice for us. Sometimes you just want to not res to strand the boomerang, but we're going to break. We're not going to fully break. It's broken on JNet. Hit the break 2 if you can. Otherwise, it won't shuffle back. We should hit an agenda here. So we'll grab Bravado and Pursuit. Fun choice. I'm assuming we get the Bravado, but honestly, might not always be the best. Okay, that's good to see. And now we're going to shuffle back and we'll just credit kiting down a Maw and say, have fun. We love to hit the fully operational from hand, but this is so nice pressure for like turn 2. The Nico is doing really well for our opponent here. So hopefully Diesel finds a mutual favor or an Amaku, and then we can start just touching cards. So fully op is going to come here. Install no Asa Group. Ice on R&D. Got to play around that Maw, that's for sure. And if we get locked out, this is not going to do much. So this Diesel needs to be good. No, not playing the fully op, which means we have a window here on 6 credits. We're assuming this could have been res last turn. So we can't just send it into that. So we can dirty laundry archives to get an Amakua and then deal with the Nico campaign. I don't want to get the Cat's Cradle, but we can. We can Cat's Cradle the HQ, thinking this is actually a really interesting decision. Because if we shut down the Magnet, that forces another problem from our opponents. We have a Credit Kiting or a Diesel in the bin. Those are both really good cards. We don't really need the Chesva. But we can dirty laundry archives, mutual favor in a breaker. It would have to be a Code Gate breaker here or Amakua Gatekeeper, and then we can just Bravado the Nico. We know that turns off the fully operational. It denies 3 cards and a card draw. It won't fire Maw this turn, which is upsetting, but I think it's the best we can do right now. And then we just have to make Amakua work for us. The other option is we just Bravado this remote server and assume something's going to get rezzed. If it's like an MIC, we lose our whole turn, but Experimental loses also all of their money besides the Nico. I think we're just going to get the Amakua down because it's the most pressure, and we just have to like respect the bronze that could be in the list. So let's go. I don't know which line I like better. Now, this server is not going to be that great. Still, putting in something into it, it's totally fine because it does turn on the fully op and it costs us 2 credits to check. So, unfortunately, no Maw here, no Amakua. We can always run archives to get the Amakua up to 3, and we can run HQ if we really want to. Card draw's an issue here. We definitely want to class act sooner than later. Let's see fully op last click, right? So this didn't move, and no fully op still. So I wonder what the hand looks like. We can run archives 3 times and run HQ for a credit. Unless there's a Mavirus, which is a fine trade. That means we can get back either a Dirty Laundry or a Bravado, which seems pretty good. I like that. We might just get a Maw, but we need to get this up to like probably 4 strength, so we can't deal with MIC. A Hagen will be on 5 strength, which is annoying. This could be an agenda. Maybe it's like fully like an agenda, and this is the powers that be. That would be bad for us. Like server 2 could be an agenda. It's surprising that it didn't move. If it was a Wage Workers that might have gone off. So like maybe running server 2 is something, but we should likely get a Maw here. Or an agenda. So we're going to pull back our favorite cards. I actually want the Diesel more than anything. So we could do Diesel Bravado. Hoping that we get the Diesel. We're not going to be upset if we get the Bravado. Holloman. Okay, good to know. That is the second Holloman. So if we trash this, we don't get an Amakua, we don't get a Maw. We also got the Diesel. So if we don't trash this, we get a random trash and Amakua counter. I think that's better. Now, we Maw a card. We know it's not the Holloman. If it's a Holloman, we would know it'd be trashed face up. It's a really weird interaction. So we'll see if Experimental actually scores out on a remote server. No, click 1. Still the fully opposite hand, if I'm not mistaken. That wasn't played, right? Yeah, so they're setting up maybe for a 3rd server. It's a spin. Okay, so we still know what server 2 is. It could just be an agenda, but Amakua on 6 will break all ice that we can expect. If we run HQ this turn for 1 credit, we can get back... Honestly, Chesva Dirty Laundry would be a difficult choice, potentially. If we draw a class act, we'll probably go for the credit kiting. All right. So, oh, wow. Double install like this. We haven't seen any upgrades. Oh, we saw Holloman, so that could be the Holloman. We have to check that. Uniced servers are a liability, right? Because we're on Maw. But the Spin Doctor's going to deal with that. So Diesel will start. All right, we can just do diversion of funds, and they'll force a couple reses. It's really awkward to duck this, and that means last click we can run server 3, which is probably worth doing. This gives us Steve, which is good. We just want to fire Steve as many times as possible because our heap is full of good cards, because that's all we play. We played this Diesel, I think, twice so far. Let's see if we can play it 3 times. Oh, no, I think we played this Diesel 3 times. We'll see if there's a duck. It's hard to duck 8. So it looks like we're just going to drop Experimental for 3. 2 cards in our heap. Our choices. I think we're going to go for Dirty Laundry would be really good. I think we do Dirty Laundry Diesel, and I'm assuming we're not going to get the Dirty Laundry. We could Dirty Laundry this, which means that if Experimental reses a Managarm, yeah, whatever. Oh, we were playing the Diesel 4 times. Could be a Mavirus, so we're touching the cards. It is a Mavirus, so we have to trash that. It purges the Amakua. It's an MC austerity policy. Okay, so this is closer to like the sort of jukebox decks. If we trash this, it's trashed. If we don't trash it, we get a Maw. Now, Maw's not super important with the Spin Doctor. I don't think we want this on the table. Experimental's on 3 credits, but we know that there is a recovery card in hand. Our Amaku got purged, which is nice that we found the Mavirus. Unfortunately, now running Archive sucks. So I think we're going to have to like boomerang server 2 and find out what it is. It might just be an agenda. I don't know what it would be that hasn't moved unless it's a powers. But it's surprising here that there's no fully up. This will be a fully up for sure, right? Did we Maw the fully up? On 3 credits, it can't be resing 2 ice. Credit, no fully up. Okay, sick. So let's just touch some cards here. We're going to check server 2. We're going to put the boomerang on it. Okay, nice. The shutdown actually might matter. We just want to find a big old Brawn or something. So we'll check server 2. If this is resed, whatever the boomerang. This might be an agenda. It's been on the table for a bit. It's pretty suspicious. Either that or it's a powers, which we want to deal with. So we'll see if Experimental reses this, then we can run server 4. Otherwise, now we have a Amakua server to charge. Oh, it's a Wage Workers. Okay. So if we don't trash this, we get a Maw. I think we don't. The problem is if we don't trash this, Experimental actually doesn't have the money to quad advance an agenda. So that's fine. So we'll get Amaku off of this. We'll get Maw off of it, and we can just keep running it back and basically force a res at some point sooner than later. So now it's either an Amakua counter or 4 credits to trash this. Now with this on the table, if you res this, you go down to 2. So you can triple credit, but you can't score out. So I think we just get an Amakua counter. Strands are boomerang, that's for sure. But once we get to 3 counters, we open up HQ. Oh, it's a Rashida. Forgot about her. That's really good for Experimental here. So that's not good. We definitely could have contested that. I thought this was an agenda. I'm surprised there's a Wage Workers because I think there was a couple turns Experimental could have used it. Maybe they did that on purpose for obfuscation. Maybe they missed it. Maybe it wasn't right knowing what their hand is. But I was pretty sure that had to be either an agenda on the table or something else. Spin Doctor being used after the Rashida draw. Weird. To shuffle 2 Unseens back. Maybe that's Maw damage. So that trashes the Gatekeeper server. That's a kind of cool thing to do. So there's not a server we can run with Amakua to charge it. You technically can do that. They installed it in the same server and trash the server. It looks really strange on JNet. And this is where we have to really like start running the right stuff. At a minimum, we have to trash the Wage Workers. Okay. So it's resed because otherwise you can do triple advance, quad advance, score out of 4-2, and that's a problem for us. So we can get the Wage Workers. We can run HQ. When we run HQ, we can go get, I don't honestly know. That could be the Holloman. We probably do Dirty Laundry Bravado. So we start by running Wage Workers. We don't trash it because we need to get Amakua to 3. Then we run HQ. Then we run server 4. We run server 5. Experimental only has 6 credits, so you can't res all this ice. It would be a really bad blowout if it is Hagen, but I don't think we can respect that. We can also start by running server 4, hope the card gets res, then run Wage Workers, run HQ, shutdown, but we don't have enough clicks to capitalize on that. The agenda also could be in server 5. That's like a classic thing you do is you make server 4 look better. Powers that be we want to deal with. We see 1 in the bin. Usually the decks are on 2. This also could be on cohort potentially. We can run server 2, run HQ. In HQ we can get, the diversion won't be given to us, so we can force any card. Bravado. We can Bravado server 4. Amakua might be on 4 strength. That's not enough. The Mavirus was kept in the bin, which is clever. I really need to think what to do here. It's just really, really bad if it's a Hagen. If it's an MIC, we're happy. If it's a Brawn, we're happy because we want to run in first click. So I think we start by running server 5 and see how it goes. Because there's a chance you only res 1 of these ice. If it's a Hagen, we're in a bad spot. But we have real breakers. We just lose our Amakua. We just want to force reses. Be aggressive. Anything that we don't trash, we'll get Amakua. We'll get Maw. And that's more important on this turn. No further. Okay, we got to see what this is. We also could watch out that it could be a Mavirus. So that's a Rashida. We have to trash Rashida. So no Amakua, no Maw. So now we can run server 4. If it's a Drafter, how bad is it? It's not good. So we could respect Drafter by at least running Wage Workers. If If this gets res, the boomerang goes back in the deck, which is great. I don't think Experimental can afford to res this, but ooh, nice. We'll break 2. So now if we trash this, we don't get Amakua up to 3, and we don't get Ma. The Wage Workers is pretty important. Now on 3 credits, we're not super scared of this face check, so we should check this. There's a Mana Garment there. So I think we don't trash this, get the Amakua, get the Ma. I think we'd rather have these abilities. So the Boomerang's back in the deck, which is nice. You in theory can leave it in the bin if you want to get it back with Steve faster. There's a possibility that's right on some weird turns. So now if we run this, we're assuming the Managarm gets rezzed. Camera's a Hagen. If the Managarm gets rezzed, Experimental has no money. Otherwise, we can run HQ and then get back either Dirty Laundry or Bravado and then run Server 4, which is also fine. Yeah, let's go run HQ. There's probably an agenda in here. We mod a card this turn. We get our best card back. I love playing with like a slim rig like this and just putting the pressure on. It's just really, really fun Netrunner. So we could get the Diesel back again. I'm just going to do Laundry into Bravado. We'll leave the diversion until we can get 2 diversions and force the issue. Okay. So no Amakua, but that's good. And now we can run Server 4. And either a Managarm gets rezzed, which we can deal with financially. We could Dirty Laundry this, actually. It's okay, though. Unless they purge, we can just run HQ. So let's see what's in the server. It's probably a Holloman. There's a Managarm. We'll pay 5. That's fine. So there's an MCA. We have to deal with that. And we have enough money coming in. We can deal with the Managarm. If Experimental purges, we can just charge Amakua off those servers. So we'll just deal with everything here. We're on 4 credits. That's fine. Credit. Wage Workers is pretty good, though. The Wage Workers is going to be hard to deal with. Costs us 6 to deal with. Just for 5. Oh, no. If we top deck a diversion here, it's brutal. So we have 2 diversions in 30. We have to draw just like the old-fashioned way. Oh, shit. That is so bad. Oh, that's not good. You never want to end your turn on 5 credits where the criminal can get to HQ. You're better off always just putting an ice in front of this and just saying, I have to take a turn off, because this takes like 3 turns off for you, unfortunately. And of course, we get Steve. So it looks like we're going to force out that 5th version of Diesel. So we can do Diversion Diesel, but I think we just do Diesel Cheswa and assume that we'll get the Cheswa here, which we can play for free. Now on no money, we can run R&D and get a Maw. We're going to go for the Diversion. We play this Diesel so many damn times. So now we'll last click, we'll run R&D to get the Maw. We'll just Dirty Laundry it. And we're just keeping the pressure on every single turn. MIC, okay, we'll rip a card from hand. Checking Archives is a bit tricky because we're on Amakua and it purges us, but this Wage Worker is doing a bit of work here. Now we can go back and get the Diversion, so we're going to just lock the game back again. So we'll Diesel for a run event, run HQ Diversion. No run event. We might need to shut this Magnet down, but we actually probably shut the Drafter down and deal with the Drafter. The Wage Worker's on a better turn. 2 cards in the grip. It's going to be double Diversion. Surprise, Recursion, Strong. Okay, Drafter. We trashed the Drafter. So now there's an MIC in hand. Then we'll just send the Diversion. Amakua gets Strong. Maw keeps working. 12 credits. I don't think we need the Rogue trading, but it's actually not the worst. We definitely don't need the extra Maw. So we're going to see click for 4 again here, I imagine. Yeah, that Wage Workers is doing a lot of work. Now Experimental needs to find a minute to purge. Card in server 4 means we can definitely run this. If we run HQ, what are we getting? It's probably like Dirty Laundry Diesel. So we'll start there. This could be a Spin Doctor, so we actually could start there before we get the Maw. I think we'll check what this is in case it is a Spin Doctor, which can deal with the Maw a bit. Yeah, nice. Okay, so we ordered that well because now we're accessing cards that are drawn halfway through the turn, and now it'll save the Maw. So if you think there's a Spin Doctor on the table, you want to pursue that before you pursue HQ. Drafter and an Unseen, so that might be an agenda. There's still 2 Unseens. So we just run HQ here, I think. I wonder if we shut down this Magnet. The problem is like it doesn't do that much. It's probably worth something. Yeah, I think we'll just do it because it makes the purging a lot worse. So here we'll go for, I think, yeah, Dirty Laundry, Diesel. We need the card draw. Play the Diesel like 5 times. Now we'll get a Maw. Never mind. I can't believe we keep getting this Diesel. It's so wild. So I think we just shut this down and run back. If you want to res it, it's not going to be great. So now there's just like functionally no ice on HQ. That means you can install something else, but okay, no Maw this turn. Wow. Wage Workers were on 6, so at least we can res the biggest ice. Okay, let's start here with a Diesel, find a Diversion. No, we found a Counter Surveillance though. That's gonna win us the game sooner than later. So we might actually hit the Rogue Trading and the Credit Kiting just to get cards on the table. Just to get tags, because this is our knockout punch. We can access all cards in HQ here. We know there's an MIC in there unless it got trashed. 2 cards from Heap. I didn't even plan this, excuse me. So I think we do, I think Shutdown Diesel. On sell, okay. We trashed a different card. So we'll Credit Kiting. We just want to get our tags up. So we'll get Credit Kiting down to Kurapira, and I think we'll just run back. We might see a purge this turn. It's fine. I don't think we have to deal with the wage workers. MIC, okay. So we know MIC, we know, what did we just ask? An on sell and then one unknown card. Wage workers has been okay. It's just a bad campaign. Second ice here. They still can't purge. I don't know if the points are in hand here, so we can just like drop a counter surveillance and C3 off of R&D. That's not bad. I don't think we have to do it. I think I'd rather like hit the rogue trading for a couple turns. They're probably going to purge out. So let's keep the pressure on Diesel. Okay. Class Act is really good. We actually might try and get our credit kiting back here on the HQ run, just so we can install the Class Act for free and get another tag. Ablative can be something. So at least we're running early in the turn. So we know this is something. This is a magnet. It's probably not going to res until they purge next turn. So we'll just do 2 credit kitings so we can install a free Class Act. MIC, okay. We trashed not the MIC. So this is either the on sell, I think. We'll credit kiting the Class Act. And we can just install the rogue trading. We have boomerang, so we can do boomerang counter surveillance. Next turn, we can do counter surveillance, boomerang, run, C4 cards. Yeah, whatever. We'll draw 4 here. Nice. They have a lot of work to do. That's for sure. There's the purge. So we have to run first click. This is an on sell. We can't deal with that. So this is where we can get our breakers down. I think that's something we can deal with. So on sell, we break for 2 credits with a revolver, and we can go get our mutual favor for a breaker. Now, luckily here, because the purge, we can run archives, which is nice to check what's in here because there's a virus in there. We've been avoiding this for a couple turns. We're pretty sure it's a bunch of ice. Echo out. That's the game. Wow, GG. That is brutal pressure. I'm surprised again that fully up was in hand for a while. Yeah, the fully up got mod eventually, but it was in hand for a long time, it seems. Oh, that soon? Oh, damn. Okay, I think it was our first maw hit. That was our first maw hit, apparently. That's why the fully up didn't happen. It was the first maw hit. Oh, man, this sort of criminal is like so fun. The HB matchup, because they can't ice up everything and making the game about the remote server, it's up to you to force reses. Yeah, from this point, again, all we do is get a boomerang on here, get enough tags, and then see the top 5 or 6 of the deck, and that usually will seal the game out. We can win on any agenda steal. All right, we're playing against Lucille, playing some op. She said this was an archer-based op. Not surprised, so Eminent Domain is going to be really important to deal with early. Now, we're playing Tag Me, Steve. That's good. We get some HQ pressure. Lucille went for the mulligan. Our hand's pretty good. Boomerang is not flawless to contest the early remote server, but we have good money. We have card draw, and we can get our mod down sooner than later. That can be a bit obnoxious. Best of luck. Have fun. So I like this hand a fair bit. We have some really cool plays with 3 emergency shutdowns in the deck. So click 1 if you run the remote server. Your opponent reses a border control or something. That's hard to deal with. Boomerang doesn't exactly beat it. Then you run HQ, you shut down the remote server, and then you run the remote server. That's like the best you can do. Looks like a slower start here. Ooh, we have something in the remote server. So if we do dirty laundry that, there's a chance it's a spin doctor and we're going to lose that. So I'm not going to do that. We'll just do sure gamble, check this so we can trash it. If it's a spin doctor, yeah. If we ran this and Lucille popped it for like fun, we would have lost our dirty laundry, which is not a great spot to be in. So do we trash this? It's like sometimes important because you can use Audacity and like a slash and burn without any downsides. So I'm okay to trash this. If that's the case, we're just going to install Class Act and click for a credit. We'll draw 5 and bottom 1 card. So we have a rogue trading, which is nice. Another Class Act we probably won't need, so that solves it. And now we have the good pressure on HQ. We're going to do like run the remote server, run HQ, shut down, run the remote server. Let alone we have like hot pursuit and stuff like that. Again, this is a Tag Me deck. We didn't draw into our credit kiting, so we can't install a Maw for free, which is a bummer. But this looks like it's assets, so the Maw, if we can afford it, will be pretty okay. Now, if this HQ is a border control, we're a bit upset. We only have 1 card in the heap, so if we do like boomerang into boomerang into hot pursuit, it's not going to get there, potentially. So I think we're just going to dirty laundry one of these. Assume it's not another spin doctor. That'll leave us on 2 credits, which isn't a lot to trash, but we can always come back. And then we'll probably put down the rogue trading and set up a bit. And just like take a turn off. We just want to deal with like regoliths. It's another spin doctor. Damn it. Damn it. So that's bad. That's what you want to avoid. So on 3 credits, we can trash a regolith. I don't know if this is going to be just an empty regolith, but unfortunately we found the second spin doctor. This is a Sphy, so there's nothing res, so we're not too worried about this thing. And the last click, we'll just put down the rogue trading. So next turn, we can just take 12 and pass the turn, which might be fine. Depending. I'm assuming that Lucille's going to jam some stuff on the table. This excavator is really important to trash if there's res cards. All right, we might actually have a play here. We could run this, force a res, run HQ, shut it down. And now this will be something res for the Sphy. So we have a lot of stuff to do today. We actually might not be able to rogue trading. So worst case scenario, this is an Eminent. Worst case scenario, this is a Rashida. So we can run this, run HQ, shut down HQ. We'll get back one of these, which is pretty good, off of Steve. And then we can deal with maybe the table. So we'll start here. We're hoping to chase down, ooh, it's a wraparound. All right, so shutdown doesn't exactly work. Now this leaves Lucille on 3. So this is probably one of the fast events. Opdex. I think it's the one that Kike won the London Regionals with, which has some pretty cheap ice. So we're not even guaranteed to land the Hot Pursuit here. We really want it, but we might not be down to land it. We could just like do Boomerang a run server 4, leaving us on 1 credit. It's not perfect. Now I could have pre-boomeranged it, but if we think it's a border control on the remote server, we don't really want to boomerang that. It's not a really great trade. So we know that there's a Sphy in 3. Server 4 is probably a Maryland or maybe even an Eminent. If we trash server 5, that deals with the Sphy usually. So here we can just like hope and do boomerang into Hot Pursuit, and we'll probably get into HQ because Lucille can't res. Oh, we can't. We're actually a credit short. That's 4 credits. I can't res an what's it called? If this is an ice wall, we're in a bad spot. So if I'm not mistaken, this deck is running 2 ice walls, which could be the max punish on HQ, but we could send with the Hot Pursuit and hope. If this is an ice wall, we're super cooked. I think that's the only ice that could be resed here. If it's an Afshar and Lucille's bankrupt, I think we're okay because it doesn't hit us that hard. We'll have to deal with the Sphy, but Sandstone. Okay. So not amazing for us. So we're going to bounce off of that. Maybe we could have boomeranged into it. So there's no credits left. We're really struggling. We could just take 6 and then just assume this can't be that bad. Now, the worst case scenario is this is a Rashida, but if this is a Rashida, at least the Sphy is not going to do anything unless the Sphy trashes one of these ice, which is a possibility. So I think we just take 6 here and float a tag. So it is a Rashida. Now, we can't use the Rashida credits to res other stuff, so the Sphy is not going to fire this turn. Unless Lucille needed to res the Sphy before and could have trashed one of the ice. But here we have the boomerang. Our heap is loaded. We're in an okay spot. And it's just a wraparound which we can deal with. So this deck is definitely on fast advance things like Audacity and Slash and Burn. So keeping the spin doctors down is pretty good. But we have to turn a corner relatively soon. So we might just do rogue trading, deal with the Sphy, or probably rogue trading, run the remote server with boomerang, because this is probably something worth running. I'm not sure if this deck's on like hostile and 2-1s, but it's running a lot of 2-point agendas. So there's definitely agendas here in HQ. Nice. Good extract. See what that just trades? Just gets rid of the Sphigator. So just money. Ooh, okay. So we got an ice here in front of server 4. So this looks like it is an Eminent behind 2 ice. And that is going to be tricky for us for sure. So we have to figure out what we want to do here. If we res with Diesel or we draw with Diesel, we get a lot of cards. If we do install Kurapira perfectly, install Boomerang, run, but we don't have a lot of money. We can force a res here. This is probably a border control at this point, which is difficult. We don't know what server 5 is. If it's like, it's really, really bad if it's powers that be. So I think we just set up with a Diesel. I don't think we take road trading. If anything, we do it once. So we have 2 diversion of funds. So boomerang into diversions of funds is like a bit slow, but it does get there and it gets us Steve. It might slow the game down. It puts Lucille on exactly 3, but if Lucille scores this out, can't res whatever this is. So I think we do go for the diversion. The question of what is the other card we get? We have prepaid, which might be a bit slow. Double diversion is going to be okay across 2 turns. Sure Gamble is obviously not bad. I feel like we're so far behind we can't play prepaid, but I usually have that issue. So we're going to get this on there. We'll go for the diversion. It's hard to duck this fully, and we get a Steve trigger, which is pretty nice, as much as we're now shuffling one of our boomerangs away. Don't do fully break. It's currently broken on JNet. Try and do break 2. Otherwise, it won't shuffle back automatically. So we're in. We're going to do the diversion, take 2 cards from the heap. So we got a lot of options here. We can just do 2 econ cards. We can do Dirty Laundry, Sure Gamble. That's fine. Hot Pursuit's really good. Diesel's really good. If we do Diesel, Sure Gamble, it's funny. You can also do the boomerang technically before it gets shuffled away. But it'll only shuffle away if it is in the bin, right? From your heap, yeah. So I think we'll just do Dirty Laundry, Gamble. I think Laundry is actually better for us. All right, good choice. So a doof. So now Seal's on only 3. So she can score at an Eminent and get an Archer. That's all it'll be. And we have emergency shutdown. So we're not too worried about it depending on where the Archer goes. And that means that server 5 cannot be res if it is a powers that be in this deck, which I'm not sure if this deck is on it. We also want to make sure we have enough cards in hand, and Aziev Protocol can come out of nowhere, and that does 2 meat damage. So if we lose our breakers, we can sometimes bring him back with the Steve deck, but it's not bulletproof. We need to find an Amakua, that's for sure. This deck is definitely on Mavirus. All right, it looks like server 4 is an agenda that didn't move unless it's a 2-Kana setup, but we have a lot of cards on the table. Luckily, we have a lot of credits. So we can install Sure Gamble and check 3 of these, which I think we have to do. I'm not sure what we're dealing with Maryland's. It's a wall-to-wall. It's not super valuable. We're already here. That's a spin, okay. So that's the second spin, super important. That's not on the table, so you can't Audacity out. Lucille's money is not that different this turn. So we're as worried about scoring at the turn, that turn as well. If this is his fee, we have to trash it. Could it be a virus that gets popped? That'd be pretty good. It's a Mavirus, so we're going to trash that for 0. We actually do have Amakuas. That means Lucille doesn't use the Mavirus. And Lucille could have used the Mavirus there to purge, to put a Regolith on another server. So I don't know if there's a Regolith on the table, but there was a line there to use to pay 3 to get a Regolith, which Lucille could empty here. So if she has money problems, she had a line here to get the thing, unless the Regolith's in hand, which is a possibility. So that could be what this is. Okay, we definitely need a draw. An Eminent going across is not going to lose us the game. We still don't know what server 5 is. We could check it. I'm worried it's a again, a powers that be. So we'll get the draw. Ooh, very good choices here. Boomerang is really good because we can just do boomerang into diversion again. It's hard to refuse that as much as the Amaku is really good. Now Lucy will duck the boomerang into diversion. So if it is the Regolith, which I think there's a chance that we have to say it's the Regolith because otherwise she would have rezzed. But still this gets Steve and Steve gets like, we probably do Diesel Sure Gamble. I think we would do Diesel Hot Pursuit. I'm just going to send it. It's wildly even 2 clicks for 6 credits and it feels too slow. So we're definitely going to see some rezzes here. So this is not going to be fantastic. But we still get Steve, and we're still going to force some things on the table. It's a shame that we can't interact. So it's a Tucana, so this might be an agenda. It is a power, so we called it. At least she's bankrupt here. We have to take the 2 credits away. So it is the card that we were playing ground, which is good. And so I think we're going to do Hot Pursuit into Diesel, assuming that she gives us the Diesel here. The Hot Pursuit's pretty messed up. We just want card draw. Yeah, nice. We'll take the money. This is really good for us. We wanted the Diesel. It's really fun when you pick 2 different cards and try and like force the narrative. It's the like the Kuleshov effect, you know? You show them one thing and it hopes that it changes their opinion on the future. So now there's definitely an agenda in server 4. Powers that be has to go down or we have to run this remote server. And running this remote server, we have to deal with the wraparound. We have to deal with this. This can't be a border control anymore. So we have to get in the server. The Tucana will still fire. All right, so we have a Cat's Cradle. Doesn't do enough, but it's pretty good. The deck probably has like 2 or 3 code gates, not that many code gates. Another class act is probably worth installing because we're kind of behind. So I think here we just deal with the powers that be and let this agenda go through, which will be all of her money. So if that's the case, Dirty Laundry is really good. Sure Gamble's good. I think we just bottom the Cradle, unfortunately. Ooh, I'm going to kick myself when that matters. But I think here we just laundry the powers, install class act. We can get a single on R&D, which might be worth something. There's not that much she can res, but I think it's better off that we just like set up and keep drawing. So you can install another class act that's unique, attached to the last one, but this gives us what we need. And now we have mutual favor, which means we can get our Fractor. We have the Chesva, so running HQ should be cheap, and then we should snowball forward. Let's see what this is. If it's an above the law, okay, see if we lose the rogue trading or not. So that's just still the Tucana, but on only 0 credits, Tucana doesn't go that far. You can't get a Winchester on HQ. You just can't res it, right? You can install it technically for free. So let's see which card do you target here. Again, we're Steve, so the cards come back. This means there'll be 2 class acts in the bin, as much as that is expensive. And we still have the Maw. Oh, we lost the rogue trading. So it's a click and 2 credits. We're tagged, but we'll take it. So she needs to discard cards here. We definitely want to get our HQ pressure. So I'm assuming we might either mutual favor for Amaku or just mutual favor for, I think we're going to go for Kurapira, considering the wraparound and the Sandstone, and we have the Chesva. So it should be easy to use our breakers. So we can do Sure Gamble. We can check archives. We can do, well, we have to math it out a bit because the emergency shutdown here is going to be devastating. So Tucana, go to install an ice for 3 less. So either you ice archives for free. It's a border control and she can't res it. So we know there's a border control here, but again, she's short on credits. So you don't see that interaction a lot, but this outermost ice is a border control, which is 4 to res. Okay, so now we have to think. So we can just check archives for free, mutual favor for Kurapira, that put us on 6 credits. We can install the Chesva, will be on 4 credits. And then we can Hot Pursuit, will be on 2 credits. This will be 4 strength, which is 1, 2, 3 to boost, 4 to break. If I'm not mistaken, we can do that. I might have done the math wrong, but this is the best we have right now. We could also Sure Gamble instead of the Chesva, but I think we want to use the Chesva every turn. An Extract will get Lucille out of this, but we're going to put on some good pressure here. So an SDS in the bin, that's good to know. We're not that good at stealing it because we have recursion, but we don't have that many extra programs. So we'll probably trade a Chesva for that sooner than later. So the SDS costs an agenda, or sorry, an program to steal, so we won't. So we'll mutual favor for the Kurapira, install it. Think we have the math. Oh, there's a virus in the bin. Damn, a virus. All right, there's a virus in the bin. We'll still be fine. We just have to do it like this. So we mask the meth up because the virus purges. So we should have just not run archives. So we should have just like played the favor. So we can still get in here. It's just going to be a bit more expensive. But we can still do our once per turn Steve, and we'll break this. It's expensive, but whatever. We'll still get a card back and 9 more credits. So we can make a choice here. If we want to make it a non-choice, we can just do 2 Dupes. That puts Lucille in a really awkward situation. I think that's going to be the case. And we have Sure Gambles coming in next turn, and our hand is pretty good. Eminence, a really good steal. If that goes in the remote server, it stays there. But now we're running HQ for like 2 credits. So if she just clicks for 3 credits, she's going to lose a lot. Descent, nice. So this costs a credit. This means that diversion doesn't do anything, but she's going to show 2 SDSs, 1 in archives. So these go back into R&D. So we're still going to like Steve HQ here for sure. Get the Chesva down. We'll probably E-shut down maybe the Sandstone. Probably not the Sandstone, honestly. It feels like a bit spiteful. And we're only going to break this for free in a couple runs. So now we know there's 6 points in R&D. So we'll get the Chesva down for sure. Card on the remote server. So if that is exactly a Rashida that can fire, I would love a Bravado to run the remote server and gain 300 credits, but we can just run it for 1 credit anyways. So I think we're just going to do Chesva, run HQ, Dirty Laundry. Oh, we can't force a Dirty Laundry. So we'll just run this and make sure that we're checking what it is. This Chesva was worth it. The Boomer Duff has made not being broke quite difficult. Yeah, I was barely holding on, but now things are okay. So we'll run HQ here. Again, we'll get our mod down sooner than later. There's 3 copies of the card that installs it for free, which is going to do a lot of damage. So now we break this for only 2 credits, and we're charging this thing, so things get cheaper. We'll see 2 cards here. Our choice, I would love, again, a Bravado for the remote server would be like pretty cracked. So I think we just have to go for 2 sure gambles here. Then this server is going to cost us at least 2 credits. It's an ice wall, so that's not a good ice for Lucille. So I think we can just do sure gamble, run this. Otherwise, if we run this, we break this for 1, getting our Kurapir up on charge. We break Tucana for 1, and then we probably have to trash a Regolith for 3. So that's, we might as well just do this first, I think. It's not super important. Dealing with the Tucana when there's not an agenda in the server is good. There might be an agenda here, and Lucille just wants to fire Tucana, which is totally fair. Luckily, on 0 credits, there's less that she can do with it. She can still get an ice out of her deck. Well, this deck has so many barriers in it that the Kurapir early is really, really good. It's a Spin Doctor. Final Spin Doctor is huge. So now there's unknown cards in hand. We're still going to deal with the Tucana, but now the Maw is just going to do full damage because with the Descent out, well, the Descent went back in, excuse me, but the Maw just gets unchecked here. So next turn, we'll start with a Diesel and a Doof. Probably Diesel into Doof. We can shut down the Sandstone, but we're breaking the Sandstone for nearly free. Oh no, the hand is only agendas as Yef, board control, ice wall, STS, drone deployment, slash and burn. Oh, that is not good. Yeah, that's fair. All right, that's going to be the game on this one. The hand is mostly agendas. There's a diversion in the hand, and we have Steve Lock here, which is pretty damn mean for sure. The Maw will come down sooner than later, and that's going to be a rough thing. Apologies, it may not be the best recording, though you did earn the win with the double Boomer. Dupes concede wins the game. Hey, no worries at all. Yeah, so the hand there is all agendas, and on 0 credits, there's not much you can do. Of course, the diversion's coming through, and once this diversion comes through, we'll get another diversion. Actually, in a bit, maybe, because you need to find the 3rd diversion to force that back. Thanks, you too. Pretty frightening, though. The Eminent going off early is quite nice. I think getting an ice on HQ might have been important, like just a code gate, but this remote server, it's going to be a while before it can be rezzed. Hey, cheers. Thanks again. Built to last. There's a whole bunch of versions of this deck, and if it's like Hyper Glacier, 44 cards, it's not a great matchup for us. It's actually relatively bad. Early shutdowns can do something, emergency shutdowns, but it's quite difficult if there's just like 10 strength ice on every server. It's not something we can really deal with. Now, this could be like built to blast kind of decks, which we do float tags, so we could just flatline out of nowhere. But they keep their hand. Otherwise, we've seen Bridgman posted recently that's sort of like a bunch of small agendas with Oberth Protocol. It's a really fun deck, and it runs big stuff like Archers and Surveyors. Boomerang deals with some of that stuff. Archer's kind of tricky. I don't like this hand. 2 Maws, whatever. They probably ice HQ, so diversion. Boomerang is not really a play. Early shutdown's nice, but we're going to mulligan. Mortivore kept. All right, our hand has just some ways to give tags and credits. Best of luck, have fun. It's a weird thing that you do with rogue trading where you probably just you install it and then 1 turn you take 12. Otherwise, if you take 6, your opponent usually trashes it, which is not bad. Spending 3 clicks for 6 credits and your opponent spends a click and 2, like that's not a terrible trade. Just the board state needs to be okay with that. If your corporation's winning, they won't trash this, usually. So it's awkward. Sometimes you take your first tag and then install the rogue trading and get no value from it. I'm getting really worried this is Hyper Glacier. Advance on HQ. Ooh, server 1, no idea what that could be. I don't want to sturdy laundry it because it can just be a spin doctor, but it's probably just like a wall-to-wall. I think we're going to laundry R&D just to get some credits so we can trash this. And Geofront, okay. Doesn't tell us much. That card sees play, but more in the Glacier or the sort of Oberth versions. Could just be a spin dock. It's a Regolith. Oh, we definitely trash those on site. This pushes us more towards Hyper Glacier. I think we just draw once and drop the rogue trading, and then next turn we'll just go ahead and take 12. We don't have any way to contest the remote server. Our opponent doesn't know that, but we have none of our boomerangs in hand. We have no HQ pressure. If this is like a Mess and Chesvo, which is like a huge code gate, or like a mid-range code gate, but a pretty beefy code gate, it's very hard for us to deal with it unless we exactly get our Amakua up or we get a boomerang. And even then we lose 3 credits. Push in the remote server, single advance. Looks like a Charlotte. That's my guess. So we can run it. I don't think the face check will be bad unless it is exactly. If it is exactly a hammer, that's pretty expensive for our opponent too. Hammer eats us here. Everything else is okay. So this could be an NGO front, could be a Charlotte, it's a tree line. Okay, that's fine. So if it's a Charlotte, that gives them a lot of click compression. It's not bad at all. On 4 credits, they might not be able to run HQ. The problem is we don't have 2 cards for Steve, but they might have an agenda in there. They've gone through 8 cards, so probably 1 agenda in there. We still can't tell what kind of list this is. I think Regolith actually might make it built to blast, which is a bit sketchy because we're playing rogue trading and going to take a tag in a second. So we could just run HQ. It's probably more important. Yeah, let's run HQ. Let's see what the deck is about. Like, oh, in theory, you could crack Charlotte and then res this. And I think we're happy if that happens if Charlotte gets trashed here. But if this is an NGO front, you can res like a 9 cost ice here. So whatever. It is an NGO. Okay, good. So I guess we're going to lose 3 credits. Mess and Chesvo. Fine. We're going to lose every credit we own. This card is messed up. Like, I kind of miss Toll Booth. I think this one's harder to deal with than Toll Booth. So that's going to fire. They didn't take away all our credits. They just lost 3. Respect. So we could just take the rogue trading once. I think we're going to draw and just do rogue trading twice next turn. We probably actually draw here and throw out the Chesva because we need a boomerang or something to deal with the remote server. Okay, that's not it. Maybe the second rogue trading is a bit more annoying. Chesva's probably worth something because we're going to have to break a lot of ice on centrals. But this card's also very good. Whatever. We'll gain 12 next turn and die to double end a line or something. It'll be fine. So they technically have a remote server. They don't know that we're not an inside job or we don't have a boomerang in hand. Spin Doctor server 3. All right, we're drawing some cards. We've gone through 11 cards here. So you're assuming there's 2 agendas in HQ. Mess and Chesvo kept its counter, which is quite nice, as much as advancing, and it's just clicking for credit. So we probably need to E-shut down that Mess and Chesvo when they're on low credits. They've gone through some money already. They've gone through 2 NGO fronts and a Regolith. We're happy about that. So we'll see if they push something in their remote server. Like a Rashida is pretty bad for us, but looks like they're not pushing here. So if we can get to HQ, it's great. I think we're just going to take 12 and say, hey, if you have double end the line, you don't have the credits. In theory, you could play like an econ card, double end the line, but I do think this deck is trying to kill us. So we're just going to have to get the Maw down and start trashing cards. We can install the Maw, run Spin Doctor, run R&D, and just try and get combo pieces out of hand. It's the best line we have. It forces them to ice up everything, which is not that difficult. All right, so they trash the rogue trading. Totally fine trade. Gives us cards in our heap. That's what we want, right? All right, card in server 2, Regolith or Rashida's bad for us. Agenda's like, okay. Oh, that's bad. We don't have Pinhole. So we need to deal with this right now because the corporation having money is how we lose at the game. So we can draw once and hope it's exactly a boomerang. That's not good. All right. So what else can we do? We can install rogue trading and take it. That'll slow them down so they don't take a Regolith. I think that might be the best we have and just try and get as much money off of this as possible. We're on 19 credits. Again, if they trash the rogue trading, that stops them clicking the Regolith, which doesn't stop them. It slows them down. I think they definitely trash this for 12. They trashed the last one for 6. Yeah. Okay. Just keeping them busy. Now we have 2 rogue tradings if we ever go HQ. All right. I think we run the Spin Doctor, put down the Maw, and just start putting the pressure on. We have an open R&D. If they're on SDS drone deployments, the Chesva is maybe a card we can keep around. We have 2 revolvers. So I'm assuming the Spin Doctor is going to bring back NGO fronts, one of their better cards because it looks like an agenda and it's like a huge economy card. There you go. Let's just do some damage. Maw. Touch a card. Don't steal or trash it. A Ket. They lose a card from hand. That actually is likely to be an agenda to some extent of the word likely. And we just need to keep cards in hand so we don't end a line. Order there was a bit sus, but fine. We could have drawn a Dirty Laundry. It might have been better if we did that in the other order. So now they need Ice R&D. That shouldn't be too hard. We know they have an Ket. We have no breakers. It's going to be hard to get Amakua working for us. But any server that we can run besides Archives has some Maw damage. And unfortunately, our ability doesn't do anything. They're on 13 credits. Give us a boomerang. We need to run HQ. No, not this. Not like this. This is really, really bad for us. We can't do much with this hand. Let's be honest. We can't really do much with this hand. We can force an Ket res. That's like kind of whatever, obviously. We can install 2 revolvers. We don't need to, but it's like technically a thing you can do. I think we can bravado the server and just like gain 4 credits. It gives us something to do. If they res, we get information. If it's like something, a bad face check, like a hammer, we can at least revolver it. It's a border control. Okay. So they res that for 2. It's good to know it's there. We definitely need to be getting into HQ sooner than later. So I think we draw and throw out the Wake and Plant. We're going to try and win with counter surveillance, not the Wake, because it's hard to get through a Master Chesvo. There's no way around it. So we'll draw here. Kingdom for a boomerang. Our money's okay. We got like 18 credits off rogue tradings. That's like not bad, right? We're definitely going to need a breaker here. Install double advance. Could be a buy vault. Could just be a real good old agenda. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. How much you bet the next card doesn't do anything? Doesn't do anything. So they score an Atlas with counters. We lose the game because they can do double end of line. This is really, really, really bad. So here, their money's not infinite. So like emergency shutdown does do something for Mess and Chesvo. That's worth looking at. We need to draw either one of our mutual favors, one of our breakers. I'll just install that, whatever. Okay. Atlas with 2 counters we lose if this is a meat damage deck. We're just really struggling to get things going. Oh, Basalt. Neat. Okay. That's still really bad because a single end of the line flatlines us. So this could be our last turn, potentially. We haven't seen any, like, obvious they're playing meat damage, so this could just be Glacier. Which it might actually be. I think Regolith shows up in the Glacier deck, so we need to really get an access on HQ here. How much does Cat's Cradle break Messna Chest before? That's the question, huh? So we can do Run Archives, Mutual Favor for Cat's Cradle. It comes in for 2 credits. We lose 3 on the Messna Chesto, so we're on 7. Then we break it for 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's brutal. Run Archives, Mutual Favor, Hot Pursuit. I mean, when in Rome. They also can use this to like bring back Maw cards, which is not good for us. So let's see if they use the Basalt here. They still have to trash the top of R&D, which is kind of fun. There's an agenda in hand. So they trashed a card to add a card. NGO front got trashed. That's okay. I think we did our math right. So this will put us on 7, and we break this for, wait, this is 5. Oh, I did the math wrong, right? 3, 4, vibes. I think vibes did the math. I think we vibes math. So we don't have to break all of it. Oh, we might as well, because we lose a credit if we don't. It's kind of funny. Let that subroutine fire. So we get 9. We get Steve. Unfortunately, shutdowns don't go too far here, but we can get some tricks. So what do we have? The only thing that we can force is 2 rogue tradings. I think that's okay. Our money's not very good. We either get a Maw here or an agenda. We know there's an agenda in hand. It's a punitive. Okay, right. Good to know. I feel like our money needs to be really, really important. And this Messna Chesva run is still very expensive. I wonder if we should have held on to the Chesva, assuming they're also on SDSs. Maybe send a message. So there's an agenda in hand for sure. If they just do install advance, we can't really do much about that. We can run HQ with counter surveillance and like see a lot of cards potentially. I still think the HQ run's like on the verge of being profitable. Let's see if they do install advance. And SDS or Cat's Cradle. That's really bad for us. Okay, install advance Messna Chesva. So Charlotte, NGO front, both options. Could just be an agenda. So if we Hot Pursuit here, it drops us to 7. I think that's good enough for the math. Yeah, let's be annoying. Messna Chesva, they have to re-res for 6, which is kind of fun. So we just break the subroutine that matters. If we hit an agenda, punitive might be a problem. Let's not worry about it. So we'll go for 2 Hot Pursuits here. Hedge fund, okay. So we're going to Maw something. It was not the hedge fund. So we can shut this down and then just go back for Hot Pursuit. If they res us at 6 credits, we can still break it, but it's 6 credits because Cat's Cradle makes code gates more expensive. This might actually be a bit greedy because we've already fired Steve, but I'm happy they spent 4. That's the 3rd NGO front. Technically the 2nd because of the recursion. We're paying 5 for this. We definitely should have the Chesva. We make the money back. So we know hedge fund and punitive in hand. SDS, we're going to steal that. That's what we have the revolver around. So we don't want to die to punitive here. They can play the punitive twice. So it's more important that we don't have more cards in hand, but we just have more credit. So I'll just click for a credit. We could die here because if this is NGO front, they're on 9. Punitive is still tricky, but they can do NGO, hedge fund, punitive, basalt, punitive. That might be enough, but 12 credits is hard. Punitive is a trace, and so the money matters. Steve doesn't have link, so they just have to be above us twice on credits. I'm glad we made them spend 6 for the Messna Chesva though. And mind you, SDS is the reason we play the 2nd revolver. Now, unfortunately, we have to trash a real breaker to steal the other SDSs, or if an SDS gets scored. And the only other redundant program we have, not a breaker, but program, is Amakua, which actually does a lot in this matchup if we can find it. But our card draw is stalled out. Fancy the Messna Chesva, okay. So we know this is an Aket. So I think we just kind of hold off here. Another ice, respect. I think this is an NGO front. Could be the agenda, but I'm assuming this is the agenda they might have pulled back. Oh, they wanted to undo clicks. They want to play hedge fund first. There you go, hedge fund. And now, okay, so we know punitive is one of the 2 cards in hand unless they lost it. This is probably an NGO front. I think we have a minute to draw up here. So we'll draw. Sick. That's really good. So now we can do counter surveillance and see 6 on R&D and potentially win. So we're going to try and like tag max, where we're just going to try and get as many tags as we can. We could provide our R&D here. It's relatively safe. We'll probably get a Maw. We could go HQ. But we're assuming this is an Aket, which they res for only 2 credits, actually. It puts an advancement on this card, actually. That might be a mistake. Because a Bioval we lose too. So we'll see what they advance. This, actually, we knew what this was. This is a pretty bad run. If there's a Bioval on the table, it eats our counter surveillance in a way that I would just say is really unfortunate. So let's see if they advance this. Okay, so now we just need to get as many tags as we can. I think we'll just draw, throw out a credit kiting. And next turn we can like rogue trading. Otherwise we can go see 6 cards on R&D. That's probably not enough. We have to get lucky. And Geofront, okay, that's good. They do install advance. If it's Biovault, we're cooked. Another ice on R&D is a problem as well. Okay, I think they're pushing an agenda. I don't think that's a Biovault. How can we deal with this? We need a top deck, a mutual favor, or a Kurapira, which is not super likely. We can do rogue trading, use rogue trading. So we can draw once, rogue trading, use rogue trading, have 7 tags. That makes the counter surveillance a bit stronger. Okay, so we might lose one of our breakers. That's fine. That goes down, it goes down. And we'll find out if it's a Biovault or not. If it's a Biovault, we have to probably run HQ. off of something important and flush the Biovault and then do counter surveillance. Biovault is a card that just can end any run. So let's see if they score out and trash a breaker or whether we'll have an open R&D. Okay. SDS. Oh, another Basalt. Huge. So they're on game point. If they have a 2-1, they can win. So now we have a chance. We can do rogue trading, get 8 tags. No, we can't. So it's boomerang, counter surveillance, see the top 7. Send it. R&D. Continue. We only have one of these in the deck. It's the way that we close out games. Can be tricky. Board control is hard to deal with. Break 2, so it gets shuffled. JNet bug. 11 credits. We get to see 7 cards here, which is pretty good. Might not win, mind you. They only have like 6 agendas in 18, so you need to see a lot more cards to win. I mean, okay. No. Okay, game on. Game on. We can run archives here. I think it's our shot. We're assuming there's a punitive in here. We actually can really die to punitive, but there's no way to beat it. So we just either have to run HQ here or hope. We should have thought this out through because we can die to like triple punitive potentially with Basalt Spire. They also know now they can Basalt Spire. We should have ran archives first because now they can Basalt Spire. They know the top of R&D is safe. So we probably lose to triple punitive here because there's no way we steal agendas from archives with Basalt Spire. Yeah, I think we should have scheduled that better. Oh, there's 2 punitives in the bin. So they can still double punitive us. That might actually work if they have like econ punitive. Huh? I wonder if we were meant to just flatline there, but they have points in hand. I don't know if they're on 2-1s like hostile. So they brought back, yeah, of course. They basalted once, so they have 1 agenda in hand. So it's gonna be tight. Again, yeah, we should run archives first, I think. Just because if they basalt there, we see a different card on R&D. We could have seen 1 card deeper. We kept the Cradle because the sentries are less likely to end the run. Obviously, there's might be good sentries in the list. We saw a Colossus like 17 cards down. We need to count how many cards we saw. So we saw, SDS was the first card, actually. That's funny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they trashed one of them. They drew one of them. So we know the next 5. I think they have to, no, they have to land both punitive. So that might be hard. They have to have like huge econ card, punitive. Still might be tricky. I haven't done the math. My vibe check is they probably can't flatline us. Hedge fund. Okay. Maybe they did the math. I didn't. It's going to be close. Thing is they have to use each Basalt Spire. So that actually means I think we know the next 5. Undo click. Yeah, I think they're doing the math too. We know also if they play the hedge fund, okay, they're going to push the winning agenda in their remote server. We have to run that remote server a couple times because of the border control. We know the next 5 on R&D are safe. Okay, we survive punitive. Now that's probably agenda. If it's a 2-1, they would just win. If it's a 3-2, they can win next turn. But it's more likely their deck just has 6 5-3s, as few agendas as possible, and they're trying to win off punitive or scoring 9 points. So the next 5 on R&D are locked. I don't think they have another agenda in hand. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And now they're on 1 card in hand. Okay, so next turn they do advance. We have to beat that, and we only beat that by finding our fractor and having enough money. So we'll draw once. That's not it. We'll draw again. That's a fractor. And so now we have to decide what to do. I'm assuming we just rogue trading here to get the most money we can. It's 2 clicks for 6. We can always bravado for 3. And then next turn we might be able to do Kurapir bravado the remote server and hope that this isn't a sentry that trashes programs. We know they're on Colossus. I think it's a couple cards down. I should track that. Now the next 4 are known. So they drew into an extract and a message chest. Oh, it's just a divested trust. Oh shit. Oh damn. Oh damn. All right, it's divested trust. Yeah, that does show up in a punitive list. Was the divested mod? Yeah, they had the 3-1 there. So there was no way for us to get in the remote server. We had to deal with this. Kurapir was too slow. I was assuming that they pulled back a 5-3 and they do install advance. So it looks like they're probably on 5 5-3s, which is 15 points, and then 3 divested trust, which takes them to 18, which I like that. It makes them easier to score to 7. Very notably, this card doesn't do anything if the runner wins by stealing the 7th point. The game is over. I think we had more game than I thought we would. It was an exciting finish, but I didn't think it would just be a 3-1. I assumed they'd be on only 5-3, so we'd have another turn there. If we didn't think we had another turn there, I don't think there's much we can do. The top 5 on R&D are safe. I don't think they have an agenda in hand. It was a mess in Chesvo, so we actually might have been able to do this. Rogue trading, oh no, we'd have to like install Kurapira, Bravado something for 3 credits, or 4 credits if we run HQ, then run this twice. We might have had the numbers, probably not. So if they're running 8 agendas and 44, yeah, when we do a counter surveillance, we're expecting to see like 1.5 agendas. So I don't know if we were super unlucky there. All right, we're playing against PD. I think Asa plays like greasing the palm, fast PD, which is an issue because we're going to flow tags here. But we have some good enough pressure in this hand. One of the coolest plays you can do on turn 1 if your opponent puts like something important in the remote server is you bravado the remote server, then they res that ice. If they don't have money, then you just run HQ, heaven forbid a hot pursuit. Then you can shut down the remote server and then you can just run it back and you get kind of everything. So this hand's not bad at all. Cat's Cradle doesn't really break the early magnets, or sorry, early gatekeepers really well, but nothing really does. So this is okay. The only better thing our hand could have is a bit of card draw, like one class act instead of this Cat's Cradle will be sick, but this is not bad. Our opponent kept their hand as well, so we might have had to high roll a bit, but this is PD, can be pretty fast. Best of luck, have fun. I think I've had the pleasure of playing against Asa a couple times, and it's like kind of a shoot the moon YDL deck, so pretty low to the ground. I think it's running no big deal, maybe? Oh, HQ open would be sick here. But if it's on Gracing the Palm, there's definitely some damage you can do. All right, against Steve, our ability doesn't really matter turn one, but you're going to see, yeah, there you go, the HQ ice pretty consistently. So our guess is that this is actually like something expensive to deal with. Like, so I guess the worst case here would be Tranquility Home Grid for 4 credits. Now, if we face check into this with a Bravado and we go through, like, we probably just want to do Boomerang Hot Pursuit, because if this is a Gatekeeper and it fires, it sets up Asa for like a billion card hand, your digital life, which you have to avoid. This also just might be a Spin Doctor. So I'm going to Boomerang this. I don't like pre-boomeranging, but I just feel like the face check into HQ, if this is, in fact, a Gatekeeper, is really, really, really bad for us. Oh, it's just a magnet. Okay. So luckily we get our Boomerang. It doesn't get destroyed. Some people don't res, and then you lose a Boomerang, which against Steve is a bit harder to do. So we're going to get 9 credits. Steal a Midnight 3 is a good start. Now we're on 10 credits. We can shut down the magnet if we want to. We're going to check server 1 first and then decide. Is it Tranquility? There you go. So this is 4 credits of trash, so we need good money. So here we can just Bravado to bounce this. I think we're just going to draw up. We can shut down the magnet, which is actually kind of important. Cat's Cradle is not that good at dealing with it. I'm going to do it just because it's nice and fun, and it puts 2 cards in our heap next turn. So if we just like straight send it into HQ, our opponent is in a rough situation. I like playing the 3 emergency shutdowns because it gives us some flexibility here. All right, install then draw. So this is probably not a Spin Doctor. On 3 credits, we can just Bravado and force the res, I think. We can always draw once. All right, Mutual Favor for Amakua is probably going to be the play. So we're going to run HQ. If this ice is not res, we get an access and we get one of our best cards back. It looks like that's going to be the case. So it's our opponent's choice, and that is a real choice. It's tricky, though, and we're going to get 4 credits and an access. So far, firing Steve on 2 turns is fantastic. Rashida here. So I don't know what's in the remote server. If we go back with a Hot Pursuit, we'll force a res. So we can always do Cat's Cradle into Hot Pursuit. That's disgusting. And then you can't res because the magnet costs 4. It's so funny. However, if this is another Rashida or Tranquility, we have to deal with it. I think that's slightly more important here. Could be a Spin Doctor as well. It is a Spin Doctor, so that's gone. Forcing out the Spin Doctors early is quite nice. So now on 9 credits, we can do the Hot Pursuit. We can also just Mutual Favor here for an Amakua, which I think is going to be our play, and just say we're going to go forward on this and build up some counters. So we know we need 3 counters for HQ. Sakun really needs your digital life here. We're so aggressive in the early game. If there's no your digital life, it's really hard to come back. We are on a tag, so Greasing does do something. So this looks like a Mana Garm into something. Luckily here, if we want to just get our money's worth, we can do Hot Pursuit into Cat's Cradle in the other order. And this, we probably won't use Steve this turn because I don't want the Mutual Favor. But that puts Asakun on, well, 3 credits, and then we can still run this. It's probably a Mana Garm into Rashida. Could be a Seamless Launch. We need to get our money up, and this is the only way. Now, we could just do Hot Pursuit, and if this gets rezzed, so be it. But I think we're just going to do this. So Cat's Cradle makes all code gates 1 more expensive to res, and then the Hot Pursuit here means that you can't res the magnet for 3, which we de-resed. So we're going to get Steve if we want to. I don't think we want these cards. Like, we would love the Bravado, but we're going to end up with the Mutual Favor. So we're just going to refuse and come back later. Oh, Arella, sick. So issue is, if this server here is a Mana Garm, we can at least force the res. That's nice for us. If it's a Mavirus, we will flatline. So we're going to draw once. But we can always run this, and then it forces Asakun to at least res a Mana Garm. We can also just run back on HQ with the Bravado, but Steve is the first time a turn. So I think we might just need to draw up, and because we're putting on too much pressure. So like Asakun is really good if they get here like a Rashida on top of a Mana Garm. So we can force a res. If it's a Mana Garm, at least you have to res the Mana Garm to protect the Rashida. It's a Mana Garm, so we're just going to jack out or not make a successful run. Because we don't want to pay 5 credits to trash this for 3 credits. It looks like it's not Rashida. And on 1 credit, Asakun can't Seamless Launch out an agenda here. So we'll see if it's a Tranquility. It is. So the server now is at least worth contesting if we can get our money up. Asakun is still going to be a bit difficult to res the HQ ice. So now if we Bravado this remote server, we can run HQ and get another Bravado. Again, that seems pretty good. We're getting the pressure on 2 credits. We can keep firing Steve. We've gone through, again, 15 cards. There's 1 agenda maybe here. We really need to plan this out thinking. So we can always just like Bravado this remote server. We flatline to Mavirus, so we should draw first before we do that. But we can just like draw Bravado the server, and we can double click the Mana Garm. That will leave us, Bravado will put us down on 8. So then we can access this card, have to trash it, and we'll probably just trash the Trank. And then we'll have HQ next turn. So I think we're going to not be greedy and not die to Mavirus. Now, instead, if we sure gamble and then run, this is better because we have 2 clicks for the Mana Garm. I'd rather spend 2 clicks at this point, but we just want to keep the pressure on. So we'll spend 2 clicks for the Mana Garm. This leaves us with enough to trash both of these and a Rashida. So we'll access the new card first. It's an Arella, okay. No surprise, we probably could have seen that coming. We don't have to deal with that now. We'll definitely deal with the Tranquility because this is how they get back into the game, and we'll deal with the Mana Garm, and we're going to bounce back. And now next time when we run HQ, which again, Asa has to spend 4 credits, we can get back 2 Bravados. And Steve gets really, really aggressive. All right, this ice, if it is any of the code gates we're expecting to lift, still cannot be res. It's on top of Arella, so we should check it here. I think we're going to start with just a little cheeky draw here. Okay, that's really good. Now we know HQ can't be resed. We're going to run HQ, we're going to run the remote server. Because we're going to get a Bravado here and use that to run the remote server. So 2 cards in the heap, our choice. One of these Bravados. Seamless, good to know. So now we can Bravado this server. We still have a click and 2 credits if we want to deal with an Ikwa, if this is an Ikwa, which would be pretty wild. This ice could be resed, but only if it's not a code gate, because I don't believe there's any code gates you'll see in a lot of HB decks that cost less than 3, and Cat's Cradle is being really annoying here. If it is like a little ablative, we can deal with Amakua. We have to watch out when Asakun's on 4 credits, because then they can res a Brawn potentially, which will eat our Amakua. But that's a 4 credit res, so we're probably okay here. Ooh, a Drafter. Okay, cool. So that's going to fire. At least we have a click left here. So this means that Asakun can bring back like the Tranquility on the table. I don't think we mind that much. If there's a Mana Garm that goes on server 3, they can't res it. So Mana Garm is in HQ and an unknown card has entered the remote server. So this is probably okay. It might just be a Mavirus. So we'll access the card that's placed first, Off-World Office. Great. This is a Tranquility home grid. We're going to have to trash that. And it's a Rella, no surprise. We're still on 8 credits. We can run HQ here to get Amakua. Otherwise, we can just do a nice little Diesel here. I think we've done enough damage this turn. Oof, diversion coming up. This is going to be really rude. If Asakun ends on 3 credits, red level clearance is quite nice. Your digital life, no, your digital life. So now we have to get into HQ. We know the Relic conducted diversion. I don't know if we need the Wake Implant, I'll be honest. I feel like the cards in our hand are a bit better here. But we can just check this for 2 credits. If we run HQ, we can say Bravado, Hop Pursuit and see what happens. But this should be a relatively free HQ run. So we're just going to start and touch some cards. On Ikwa, we win. We know that there's Seamlesses in hands and Arella, so we have to be as aggressive as possible. 2 cards in heap. Give us a Hop Pursuit and a Bravado. We're just full sending it. We could have done Bravado Diesel. We don't mind the card draw here. There's a good reason we play 3 Diesels in the deck. There's a Mavirus. Ooh, terrible hit now because running the remote server is a lot harder. So we'll just trash it. We got the Hop Pursuit though, so I guess we're going to continue. We are not going to be able to run this remote server. Midnight 3, okay. So I think here we actually have to go for the diversion because if this is an agenda, Asakun can do Seamless. So I'm just going to do like a spiteful little diversion. This feels awful, but I think we have to just send it. Now Asakun can duck this by rezzing the Arella, and we'll just go for an Axis. Oh, it's a Tranquility, okay. So do we want to take a credit? No, we want to breach because we want to get Amakua. Oh, that's a bad one to hit last click. So we know the winning points are in hand. This has just been absolute aggression from Criminal here. So that could be the 5-3. Amakua is on 1. Asakun's on 4 credits. So Seamless gets through here. We need to run this if we can. So we can just run HQ, run the remote server. Not finding anything good. I think we'll just do a diversion Diesel, assuming we'll get the Diesel. We can also do diversion Hop Pursuit, assuming we'll get the Hop Pursuit. Again, they could res here if they wanted to. It's just a gatekeep, just a magnet for 4 credits. So I think we're gonna go for the Hop Pursuit and the diversion, assuming we'll get the Hop Pursuit. Diesel actually might be better. Seamless, okay. So we're at 2 counters. We'll go back. Again, this could be res to stop the Hop Pursuit. I don't think we mind that much. It's a Mana Garm. So now we can run this remote server, and if it is the Ikoa, we can steal. Looks like it's not a Mavirus, otherwise Asakun could have res there. Midnight 3, that's game. Oof. That was just rough. So much aggression. Yeah. Yeah, I think they flooded up a bit there, right? Like without your digital life, it's really, really difficult. Like this deck snowballs forward and no YDL. That's really hard because the YDL bounces back super quickly. You can do credit YDL and be back in the points, but we just kept the pressure on. Again, I do think actually derezzing that was kind of fine, and the Cat's Cradle had really relevant text. All right, we're playing against the big unit. This is a Worlds finalist. Very good player. We're playing against Azmari. 40 cards, so we're assuming this is Neurospike Azmari. I wonder if unit is testing. So Neurospike Azmari, not great. We can kind of float tags. The problem for floating tags is like predictive planogram gets pretty good. Otherwise, this hand, the rogue trading is a bit slow for the matchup, but Maw is really good. That's kind of what we want. Otherwise, Neurospike Azmari, very strong right now. Getting to the remote server, getting Amakua up is going to be very, very strong. The modern versions of the list have one virus, but you have to play this perfectly. I think credit cutting into Ma is going to be good enough to keep. I do think Big Unit might be a send a message believer instead of the degree mill. So we'll see if it matters. One planogram out early is sick. 10 credits. We'll see if there's HQ ice. There is. We're still going to pop off. And I think we're actually going to run archives click 1, which is a really weird plan. And the idea there is just to have a chance to get Maw this turn. We'll see if we just die to punitive. We might not. So we'll run archives. Seems very strange. So now that's good to get out. Now we can credit kiting in the Maw. And we can run R&D. Now here's the thing, is if we hit an agenda, we could just lose to punitive. I'm just going to try Maw every turn. Sarievna, nice. We get a random card out of hand. So this means you have to ice up R&D to some extent. Our hand is really bad in terms of other tempo stuff. But we need an Amakua. I don't know if Maw is going to be enough. Planogram, draw 3, gain 3. There's the punish for sure. And this deck gets the punishes pretty consistently on the basis that it only has 40 cards. Why we're in archives there, mind you, is just because Maw, otherwise its trigger would have been eaten when we saw the top of R&D, assuming that we don't steal or trash it. So here buys us some time just to set up. We might get the rogue trading down. It's a nice way to be punitive, just having enough money. So we can always draw up a bit. We haven't sounded Boomerang yet, icing up everything. This is not generally how this Azmari deck goes. So that's going to be good into Amakua. Draw. All right, so if we diesel here, we can't rogue trading. I think we'll just rogue trading and say you can trash it if you want. We need to keep our money up to deal with punitive. And there might even be something in archives. 3 spin doctors though so far, 1 attitude adjustment out. So those cards will come back, but it's all about building the remote server and beating it in a couple turns, which we're not very good at dealing with that quickly. Luckily we have burst diesel. So if there's a Rashid in the remote server, credit, rogue trading, nice. Trade on tempo is okay. So we can do the same thing. We can do diesel. Okay, Class Act is a really important card. We can play one early, but it's actually one of your very important don't die cards. If we face check HQ here, I don't think the ice can be that bad for us. It might just end the run. That's what we're expecting. So we can just bravado it and see what it is. Otherwise, I think we can just do this and slow the game down and say like, hey, we have a 6-click button. If you want to spend a click and 2 to trash this, and could buy us nearly a whole turn. The best play for a unit would be like install, I think, Rashida ice and then trash this. That still helps. Now we have a couple options when we run HQ. We definitely want to go for the diesel. So we probably will end up class acting this turn. Same turn, credit. All right, so I think we're going to go HQ here. We're going to install the class act first. We don't want to just straight bravado because we can die to Sarievna. We want to watch out. So we have to draw once, unfortunately. Unless we don't want to bravado. Draw. Oof, okay, never mind. Diesel. Second mod doesn't matter. Mutual favor will actually matter. We have to break all kinds of ice. This deck has as many underruns as possible. So I think we'll bravado, we'll class act first and then bravado HQ, just so if this is a Sarievna, which we did see one, as much as it's probably one of these, there's a wraparound. So mutual favor for Kurapira will get us through and then start mawing us, which is nice. We have a lot of cards in hand. That's really good. We can mutual favor for Kurapira. Just send it. Planogram, draw 3, gain 3. We are tagged. We didn't find our next class act, which is super important. Amaku also deals with the roto turret. It doesn't deal with wraparound though. So we'll see if a remote server gets built here or not. And then Steve, we have a couple good options here. Double diesel is probably good enough. Remote server could be Rashida. See if there's an ice hit. No ice. So if this is a spin doctor, it's going to be used. Otherwise, we can just bounce off of it with the maw, which you can't really allow us to do. I feel like we're having a relatively good time slowing Azmari down. I don't know if you can afford to put ice on all centrals when you need to push the remote server out as quickly as possible. I think we died at punitive, if anything, like triple punitive. All right, what's our turn? We can make a successful run. If this is not a spin doctor, we won't. But if it is a spin doctor, it'll be very good. I'm assuming it's a spin doctor. So no successful run, no maw. We can just mutual favor. I think we just mutual favor for Kurapira and then Pursuit HQ. Last click. It means that punitive will probably still be okay into it. Now we have to worry about roto turret, so we still have to get all our breakers down, but this slows the game down. We get our best card back. I think it's just going to be diesel into diesel. Yeah, I don't know what else we would need here. Re-education. Okay, so punitive really matters, but we have 23 credits to 23 credits. Shutdown probably won't matter. The second mod definitely doesn't matter. So unless we die to triple punitive here, which can be tricky, but not impossible, that's a huge breakpoint for us. We don't have link, but we have 23 credits, and that's, you generally need a bit more than the runner's money here. So now we have to not face check, because if it's a roto turret, that's pretty bad. It could just be an end the run. So we're going to diesel and hopefully get a breaker down. I'm assuming that's a Mavirus or a Holoman. Another spin doctor is my guess. Keep dieseling. Okay. Amaku is really big. This means that we can deal with roto turret. I don't think we need the Ches. The rogue is going to be a bit slow though. I think we'll keep this. So we'll run server 2. If in theory we could get the Amakua down first. I'm assuming we're chasing a spin doctor out here, so we won't make the successful run. That's fine. So if we do Amakua run HQ, if it's a Sarievna, that's fine. If it's just an end the run, that's fine. We could keep the boomerang. We still have 3 boomerangs though, so I think we just do boomerang hop pursuit HQ. If you don't res here again, we're making more credits, getting more moss. 2 spin doctors went back. I didn't pay any attention. Oh, planograms went back, of course. Oh, it's a piranha, 6. So now we have bad publicity. So some of the older versions of this deck ran this. So cards in hand are going to matter. So here you may draw a card. We don't want the corp to draw a card. Do 1 net damage and end the run. We're going to break those. Net damage on this hand actually kind of sucks. We don't want to lose the Amakua. So I guess we're going to allow the corporation to draw a card. End the run. So this is end the run. If there are more cards in HQ, there are. You may draw a card. We don't want to take the net damage. It's only a 1 in 5, but like it's a pretty bad 1 in 5. We lose the Amakua and we can't recur it because we don't have 2 Amakuas. So Steve won't force it. So we'll allow the corporation to draw. Again, punitive, we're 19 to 19, but we're going to have more credits coming in from this hot pursuit and another card in hand. And then we break wraparound for 1. Oh, sorry. I thought I broke that one. My bad. I broke the wrong one. I said out loud what I wanted to do, so I don't feel bad about it. It's not like you lose the diversion and you want to do something else. So you'll see the tape. Break 2. So we don't want to do the net damage. I definitely clicked the wrong one. That wasn't the bad hit. Losing the Yamaku is the bad hit. So again, it can be like, in theory, we actually could flatline still the punitive, but it's like dependent on, you can get a lot of money with your digital lives and then playing the threat cost on the mandates on sudden commandment. So we'll get through that. We're still going to get 9 credits here and a card back. I don't know what the card we want back is here. I'm assuming our best card is Diesel. I think we just do Hopper Suit Bravado. Piranhas is going to be hard to deal with. It's Boomerang or Bust. We also don't know what the upgrade is, but it doesn't seem like a Chrysium. It's a virus. We need to deal with it. If it's a Holoman, we definitely want to deal with it. So we'll do the card from hand. Okay, we can die to Punitive here. It's a Holoman. I don't think we trash it just because Punitive math might really matter. We'll shuffle that back in. And I think we throw out the Chesva. Diversion might not matter. So now there needs to be a lot of work to do. And if we can get past this, we get past Punitive. We also mod because we didn't trash the Holoman, which is huge. So that could hit a Punitive. There are 5 cards face down. So their agendas end up in there every once in a while. But there's still no remote server. There's only 17 cards left in R&D. It looks like click 1 draw, we're probably okay. It still could be like sudden commandment into like YDL, into gain a click, into punitive. Like you can do some wacky stuff. Okay, the remote server is being built. We don't know what this is. If it's a rototurret, we're cooked. It might be a Rashida. So we can just do Amakua Bravado it and assume that there's no going to be program destruction. It could be an F2P actually. The older versions of this deck are on F2P and that's pretty bad for us. But if we do Amakua run, we can at least beat rototurret. We can't beat F2P because we can't pay credits because we're very, very tagged. The other option, if it's a Rashida, we can say we don't care and we can run HQ. The problem is Piranhas is going to do something for us. I think we'll start with a draw. Okay, Boomerang means we can deal with it. I guess we'll Bravado. If we don't steal, no trash, we get a Maw and a Kurapir. It is another Piranhas. Okay, we have 2 bad publicity. So we'll break this. So net damage we want to avoid because of the Amakua thing in our hand, which we need to get down sooner than later. I'm assuming this is a Rashida. And now we don't have to worry about punitive. It's a Jupe stat. Okay, so this is one of the older versions. So if we don't trash this, we get a Maw. If we do trash this, you just don't have this, which is kind of important for the win condition. I'm just really scared of rototurret, but the older versions didn't have rototurret. I think the thing we get blown out by is F2P. 2 spin doctors out. We can check archives. We can run R&D. We're pretty sure R&D is a Satyevna. I think we just keep drawing to make sure we always have a Boomerang in our hand. Keeps coming back. Holoman's being slid over. I'm not sure what you do with the Holoman here. You can't fast advance with this Holoman. Can you fast advance with 2 Holomans? Why do you move this? Just to get it in that server, which is safer than HQ? Yeah, there's a chance, but I don't think it's actually going to do anything this turn unless it's like set up, install the agenda, put 2 counters on it and say go. Planogram, draw 3, gain 3, 12 cards left in R&D. Again, the deck is on only 6 agendas. I don't know what the ice is because I'm scared of the rototurret, but Amakua beats it. A lot of cards in hand here. We can check archives. Again, the end of the runs we're expecting are like Ping, Magnet, Wraparound, a Piranha's F2P, Mess and Chesso sometimes shows up. So this can be a 5-3 agenda. It needs to have another advancement on it. So I don't think we can lose this turn. So we can beat this by just doing Boomerang at the outermost, draw, run. Because we just need to have more cards in hand for Piranhas. So if this is Holoman, you can score at a 5-3. Now we have 2 re-education. So if it's the last re-education, you can Holoman. Oh, you can do it with red level clearance. So the way that we lose is Holoman puts 5 advancements and clicklessly install a Jupe stat and we flatline to that. So the way to beat that is that we have to put the Boomerang on the outermost and have more cards in hand. So we can do Boomerang, draw, run the Piranhas. After the draw, we'll have 6 cards in hand. This Piranhas will fire. Big unit will have 6. We'll have 5. Oh, So we actually could flatline here. Now we can not flatline if we just get a Maw. and we can either maw hitting the red level clearance or hitting the Dupes dead. So we'd have to like top deck a Diesel. So we have a small chance of 1 in 25 of top decking a Diesel, and that busts this remote server. The other hope is that this is something we can get through, so like a barrier, like a ping. I'm assuming it's like a Messna Chesso or even an F2P. F2P could return, I'm not sure what the text on F2P is. I think it's only a program, right? Not a card. I'd installed runner card. Oh shit, so F2P actually bounces the boomerang as well. So I think we're more likely not to run this. I think we're more likely to run HQ and get a maw trigger. How much is the money to do this? Like the money might matter here because Hollowman into the agenda is 6 credits. Then you have to red level clearance for 7 and Jupe says 8, 9, 10, 11. So even if we diversion, oh my God, I keep forgetting this is Azmari. I haven't even considered Azmari once this game. But yeah, the diversion's not very good. I have not considered Azmari at all. So I think we just have to go HQ and we have a 40% chance of dismantling the combo. Because the deck is on 2 Jupes dads, of which we trashed 1 and 1 red level clearance, I think. It might just be 1 and 1. Maybe this is nothing. This is the older version. I'm more used to the newer version that's on like 2 neurospikes. But there's a chance that we flatline here. It requires a Jupes dad and red level clearance in hand. So I think that's the case. We boomerang the Piranhas, run HQ. Then with HQ, we can get, there's not 2 shutdowns, but we could do Diesel shutdown maybe. We can run R&D, which we're pretty sure it's an F2P. We can run Archives as well. This could be the final Spin Doctor. I do think we're just going to go HQ. I think we start there. I think we just hope that doesn't hit the Amakua here. We don't want to let the corporation draw a card. So 1 and 4. Good. So we either hit an agenda or maw something important. 2 cards. This is going to be an important decision. We probably should have planned this out before we got to this point. But we can get Mutual Favor Diesel. That's one way of dealing with the remote server. I think that's kind of cool. We also do Mutual Favor Boomerang, which is really fun, and get the same boomerang back. But that doesn't really change that much. I think honestly here we do Mutual Favor Diesel. We're like trying to win on the maw here. We can run Archives last click. Your Digital Life. So we're going to maw something. We didn't maw the Digital Life. The boomerang will be shuffled back. We got the Diesel. So here we can Diesel and install a class act. That's another way that we survive. That's one way out. If this is potentially the line that we're worried about. I think that's fine. We can also run R&D, run Archives. If we run R&D, it's a Sarievna. Maybe. It's not the end of the world. We've mawed a fair few cards. Let's Diesel and see if we get the class act or not. So we have a Revolver, that's nice. I think that emergency shutdown's not going to matter. So I think we're just going to run Archives and hope. If we drop down to 2 cards in hand, I don't think it's a huge difference. So we'll just run Archives and hope that we've done enough damage. It's a Sarievna. Okay, we saw that. So this is going to allow a couple card draw. That actually really matters. We can't break this. So it's just going to fire. So we take a tag. Who cares? 2 net damage that matters. We didn't lose anything super important. Let's see if that's in here. Send a message. Got there. GG. Oof. Do you have the RLC play? So what we lose to is like another RLC Jupe stat in their remote server. And on a 16 credits is enough. I think it's like 11 credit play, maybe 12. I'm not sure. Again, this might be on 1 neurospike or just 2 Jupe stats. Could be on 1 and 1. But the way that we flatline again is like clicklessly installing a Jupe stat and then scoring out the last 3 education. I was dead in the water when you got the 6 plus the maw came down. Beans. Yeah, F2P is a problem. I don't think this version's on Roto Turret, but any like end the run code gate, gotta keep it safe. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the game. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I know I had a much better time playing Steve than I imagined I would have. There's been some great Steve decks, mind you, lately. If you've not played any Banhar Steve, I cannot recommend those enough. Those decks are incredibly fun. But I feel like every time I play Steve, I'm usually in a situation where I feel like I'm gonna get locked out from HQ. I can't make interesting decisions on what I pull from Archives. And now with just these busted run events and all these great tag me stuff, it just kind of clicked. And I could get into HQ, I could derez ites, play the Snake Door beta. I imagine that helps a heck of a lot. But I was just having a lot of fun building these situations where I can present 2 different cards. There's a big chance that in the next 60 days, I'll actually find out that I miss Steve when he's gone, as much as the DJ Fenris stuff or One Influence in the Shaper or the Anarch deck. That sometimes rubs me the wrong way, but it's actually really cool. I was kind of surprised. Now, of course, I want to give a huge thank you to all these names here and more. These and all our daily cast patrons, they help support the Métropole Grid, so I can put the time in to do all the video work, all the live streaming, the motion graphics, the editing. A lot of stuff here happens behind the scenes, and it just simply would not be possible with all these names here and more. If you want to support Netrunner content like this, you can find a link in the description to the Patreon. Any amount of a contribution is incredibly appreciated. If you want to take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, all that sort of stuff helps a heck of a lot. Now, also, when I built this deck, I want to be clear, I did not go out of the way to be like, what are my favorite FFG cards that are going? But once I ended on those 45 or 46 cards, I was looking at the list and thinking, wait, these are just a bunch of old FFG cards that are going and some of my favorite cards. I think there's a good chance in the next month and a half before Elevation comes out, we'll do a couple deck dives where we focus on some of the old FFG cards that are leaving and some of the weirder and more interesting, some of the beloved cards before they are, of course, going to go. Of course, I'm very excited for Elevation. I'm very excited for the rotation, but we have a bit of time before the meta gets really shaken up. So maybe that's a nice thing we can do over the next couple months. Let me know what you think. And with that, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Ciao.